call.
Councilmember Knight. Here. Councilmember Hageman.
Present.
Councilmember Corbell. Here. Councilmember Redburn. Here.
Do you have a flag here? We don't. Pardon? Said how do we? No such. Okay. I guess we'll move on to public comment. The city council welcomes citizen participation and comments at all council meetings. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes out of respect for everyone's time. Council is not permitted to respond to your comments. As the Open Meeting Act requires the topics of discussion and deliberation be posted and on the agenda no less than 72 hours in advance of the council meetings. If your comments relate to a topic that's on the agenda, the council will discuss that topic on the agenda at the time the topic is discussed and deliberated. Do we have any public comments? All right, we're good. So I guess we're going into the special agenda. Budget workshop.
I like to stand in front, fire it out. So we are recording this audio, and so we're gonna questions or somewhere. Just make sure you speak up, so we can catch it on the audio, which we do want to have available for people. And then all the slides will be showing. Those will be available to after we do that. So housekeeping, Lupe. Questions are right out here.
Questions are right up here. Wind is to your right and it's to your left. And you have a water fountain.
Water fountain and restaurants. Anything else? So I would just say welcome everybody that came tonight. Appreciate seeing you all. Certainly council, thank you for making time out of your schedule, out of your family life, to be here today. So if you go ahead and hit the first slide there, partners. I was going to tell you when I pitched in college, pitcher, and I have a picture of me with my coach guy's finger right in my chest, like on the mouth, like this. He's like, spit that gum out and pitch. It was like the 6th inning, 7th inning game. We were winning. He's like, spit that gum out. So I figured I learned that I can't walk and chew gum. I can't pitch and chew gum. I can't talk and do that quicker. So you'll have to bear with me on that, and I'll just have my experts over to take care of that. See the other slide before this? What's that? All right, we'll quickly do this one. Here's the schedule again. We kind of gone over this a few times, but again, tonight is the workshop, and I like to say that this is a chance to roll up your sleeves, very formal. You know, we're here to hopefully give you good information, certainly take questions that you might have, additional information that you might have. All the above is our budget ultimately. As you can see, this is your work session, but then you'll go into publishing the notice September 2. So a little less than a month away is when the first public hearing is for your first formal consideration budget. So I'm sure the city attorney might be listening to us tonight, but we want to stay focused on the budget. I talked to them. They just make sure we stay on the budget. So I think she's going to stay with us all night. So just want to give those points. So next, just keep going here. So Mayor and Council, I was thinking about trying to keep it limited, but yet at the same time give you enough information to understand the budget too. And so I wanted to kind of go through the first things, and first thing is. Is there another slide before that? Okay. All right. Well, then I have to read my notes to stay on task. So my first comment is like, what is a budget? And so I like to say that a budget is a spending for the next 12 months starting October 1. And it is a guide. It is not, it's not something that can never be changed. I always say to council members, listen, you adopt a budget, you could actually change it October 2. You can amend the budget. You can amend it in a month. You amend it in 2 months or 3 months, 6 months, whatever that is, council can amend. So It's a guide for you. It should be looked at as something flexible because I don't think any of us could predict what's going to happen for the next 12 months. For instance, I think in the animal shelter, an air conditioner went out. We did not have that budgeted for. So for example, what we do in the budget is we look to see if we have line items that are not being spent, or somebody said, you know, I didn't need this much money for this particular item. And then internally, if we have it in our existing budget, internally we can make a transfer. We put that on our monthly reports when we do that. But anything more than that, you're going to actually raise the budget or anything of significance, it's got to come back to you. You do any amendments to that. Amendments can come to you, they can come requested to me. All of those can happen. So I just want to just remind, this is a guide for you, and it's hopefully a predictor of where we're going to be next year. It's also accountability for the city staff, for the organization, because we set these limits, and when they go through and they're going to spend these funds and all these different line items and code it, we expect them to stay within those limits. So that therefore, everybody should know that that's where we're going to end up at the end of the year. We're going to be where we said we would be. We need more money, we have to come to you. And so it's a guide, but at the same time, internally, it's about accountability. It's a prioritization guide. It's where we say this is where we think are the most important areas that we're going to spend money next year for the taxpayers. Open to changes. I think when you look at changes in priorities, changes in economic influences, go up or down, but usually they're down. Sometimes you have to make changes or reduce your expenditures in certain ways just because sales tax isn't coming in, for instance, like we anticipate is coming in. Again, I said that you could change this, amend this at any time. I like to call it a living document. I always say that this budget should never be seen as put on a cover, put in the closet or put in the shelf and leave it there. It's always living. It can always change. So that you just need to understand that it's not like tonight. Once we set this budget, it's been 1 year. We can't change it. It is meant to be adjusted if necessary as part of this change. Where did we start this? So I wanted to just touch on a couple quick things. The outline for today. So first thing is I'm going to go over some introduction highlights of the overarching issues. Things that impact multiple funds, all departments, what our balances look like at the end. So the council to me is first thing you do is you got to show what this looks like on the big picture before you start looking at very specific things. I'll give you the big ones that I think are impactful that you need to see. Then there's going to be, we're going to follow that then. So we'll pause then and then see if there's any questions on that part, which I'm sure there will be. And then we're going to have the department. So I told the departments to get about 5 minutes. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to put up their line item budget. They're going to make a few comments on it. If you have questions there or their particular budgets, comments, certainly you can do that. But we're going to run through those one by one. And then at the end, city council comments, questions, whatever that is. And so I like to say that I done this a few times, and what I like to say is hold your questions throughout this first part, because I think you need to see the whole picture before you can really start asking a lot of questions. I suggest you write them down. You put a page number on it, which you want to have us pull back up, and we certainly can do that. But I think it flows better if we just go through and you get a bunch of pieces of a puzzle. I like call it a puzzle. You start saying we put 2 puzzles in, can you see it? 2 pieces in, can you see the picture? Well, not yet. There's more pieces that go together. And so I try to put a lot of pieces into the puzzle before we start asking questions, because hopefully we're able to answer some of them through the process. This is the first meeting. We don't want to, this is your meeting. It's your budget ultimately as a council. You're going to adopt it. We do not want to, I don't want to say don't ask questions. What we'll do is Candace is going to write questions on. Some questions maybe will require us to do some more research to get them back to you. What we'll do is write questions down. We don't have the answer right away. We'll get that out to all of you. So the way this works now is there's no individual person that is going to get information that the rest of you shouldn't get, especially this comes out. And then I just wanted to put on this because I think this is very important. So you're looking at 2.5 months worth of work, putting this all together, and we gave you this 2 days ago. There would definitely be a lot of questions, and most of it you probably haven't even had a chance to look at. So hopefully this is your introduction to that. But sometimes council members, certain ones, want to have a lot, they want to have a lot of information, very specific information, line item information. So what we want to do is welcome any of you. Next week would probably be best. Come in, sit down with Jillian, sit down with me, whatever department head, maybe you have questions about, and we can go through and talk to you about any specific line items. You know, Mayor had some other questions you were talking about today. I'd like you to come in and we can sit and we can kind of go over a lot more detail of what you see there. So I want to make sure that you're welcome to do that. I also say this is not the end of the story. If the council doesn't feel comfortable having this work session, you can ask to call another one, 2 more. I told Ken, you know, every night if you want to. That's what it's here for, is to be able to do that and have you make sure you're comfortable and feel like, okay, I got a good understanding. But ultimate goal is to find a place here where you find yourselves reasonably comfortable before we get to the public hearing. I like to think that before we get to the public hearing, we've hashed out a lot of the questions that you've had and answered a lot of questions so that we get to the public hearing. Doesn't mean we're all on the same page, doesn't mean you're all going to prove it. You took that down. That was my favorite slide. My favorite slide. I forgot to refer to that. So we'll, that's where I like to see us at the end of the day. We're pretty much saying we're on the same page. It could be some of you don't even agree with the overall budget at the end, but at least you have all the information to make that decision ahead of that first public hearing. Is there another slide? Yeah, no, not yet. So I think I just real quickly understand. So here's the process we go through. So prior to me coming back for round 2, as an interim, the staff was already putting together budgets. So that was 2.5 months ago. About 2.5 months ago, they start putting together their departmental budgets. Those come into finance. Finance puts them into the budget. I come and then I take a look. I take my first look at them, and I see we have a deficit at the end of the year, basically what they asked for. So then I meet with them again. I say, okay, looks like we're about this much short. So I told them I need to see 3% reductions in all of your operating budgets, less payroll side. So then we sit down, we go through that. They show me those. We go through it. We go through line items. We look at previous year, current year, actuals, and proposed budget. And we do that with each department going through there one by one. Saying we didn't spend this 2 years ago. Why is it higher? Why is it lower? And we go through and we make some adjustments. And I ask questions. We ask questions of them. And that's how we get to ultimately where we are today. And, so with that, now we kick it off, right? So again, some of you are very new, so I gotta just talk about this a little bit. But we're an organization that operates out of several funds. I like to call them they're financial books for distinct services. I like to say we do have a parent company. It's called the General Fund. It's more like, I should say, it's more like a family. So there's a head of the household, which is General Fund. So General Fund can give money to their kids, give it to friends, give it to anybody. But not everybody can take their money and give it to the General Fund. So general funds, property tax, sales tax, planning fees, others, those are kind of big ones. Police, fire, planning, parks, those are the big ones under general fund. So then you have a utility fund. The utility fund is what people pay in their rates, water and sewer rates. Now, this fund cannot pay for that. It's illegal for it to spend the water and sewer rates on anything other than water and sewer. Now, you would see that when you have a smaller city like this, and most cities, that you only have one HR department or person. And so different funds are going to be contributing towards that salary or that operation or a liability insurance or those types of things. When there's an area that covers all departments, then you will see, because it's like it would be like the utility department has to do their own payroll. They would have to pay somebody to do it. They pay the general fund to do it, or they pay the administration department to do that. Street funds, but here's water and sewer. These are rates. You go down to street funds. So here we have funds coming from gas tax. They can't be used for police, fire, water, sewer. They got to be used for your streets, roads. To the airport fund, you can't be taking airport money and spending it in other places. It's focused in on the airport. The civic center gets revenue, that a lot of their revenue comes from a hotel motel tax. So you have a good number of funds within the city that finance has to monitor and manage throughout the year. And as council members, it's illegal to take this money and spend it there unless you have a backup for it. And so I just wanted to say that before we kind of get into all the fun stuff. What's the next slide say? So I want to give you, there's two big ones. These are the ones we always focus on. It's general fund and utilities fund. So collectively, those are by far the biggest funds. So that's what mostly we'll be talking about tonight. So here's a couple highlights. These are the current budget we're in is 15.9, proposed budget's 15.8. So slightly lower than it's currently is where we are in the budget, and it's balanced. So I think I did want to note, because those of you who were here, Mayor, I heard you were in the back of the room last year, is that right? So we had to do a lot of reductions last year. Absolutely. We eliminated 15 positions out of the general fund in order to get it to balance. We also had to scour that budget to get a lot of different areas low. And so that got us to that 15.9, which I'm hoping we're going to be right on for seeing a balanced budget at the end of the year too. And so I just wanted to note that. I think this is also important. I talked about a lot. We were 6.8 in 22-23. You just had the audit earlier this week. It's up to 19-20%. So that's where it is in the 24 September this year. We're going to keep it there, current budget, and next year we're going to keep. I think it's important that the city council policy is 16.67. So you're above it, and I always told you that to me is one of the biggest barometers for you to watch which way you're going. That should be the ultimate for any city manager to give you. And you dip in there, you got an economic downturn, you have emergency situations, you have something you really need to spend the money on. It can go down, what your policy says, it reaches like 10%, you actually have to stop and have a plan to build it back up, approved by council. So that's I'm really pleased, folks, to see this city be at 6.8 not that long ago, and sitting here at nice steady 19%. That's big. That's very good. Next slide. So then I just want to hit the utilities. Again, big picture here. So current budget's 18.8, proposed budget 19.1, slightly higher. But with the utility budget, so you raised rates 17% 2 years ago. You didn't raise rates. 2023, 5 years worth of rate increases were adopted. First two were 17. Why did you have to do that? Well, if you look at the studies, it's actually two studies. Plummer and it's like Water Solutions or something did that. Both of them were looking at saying, if you don't, your reserves will drop down to nothing. You don't raise the rate. So city was pretty much in a situation where those rates had to be raised. You had to do it. The good part of it is that we come out of that hole. And you'll see it when you go to the chart that shows where your balance is going to be at the end of this budget year. But one thing that the utilities fund does not have is any money to replace it. So basically, it's got operational budget, it's got bond money. So what you're seeing out there right now is borrowed money. It has to be paid debt service. It hasn't any money set aside. So what we've done is we're trying to get rid of these lease vehicles that are costing us more than when they first went into. First, when they went in, it was a good deal. Now it's not. And honestly, as the city manager, I don't think leasing all your vehicles is a good idea because it's got its turnover every 4 years. some vehicles will last you 10 years, should last you that. And so the utilities fund will be able to, because of the rate increases, to start replacing things. So we're gonna budget for all of their vehicles to be replaced. We are gonna, we are putting a master plan in here. That will be funded. That's really important for the city, but it's also important for all the conversations that we need to have with TriSet. Because our master plan, we just don't look outside our boundaries. We have to look outside our boundaries. They're connected in 14 places for our city to serve water. So that's a really key part of the conversations that we have down the road with TriSet. And then at the end here is the revenue is supposed to be at 20 million. So you can see where we are on the proposed budget after these are spent right here. And so surplus at the end will be 1.2 million. But what are we gonna do with 1.2 million? Well, your fund balance is still pretty far down there. So we're gonna leave it in there, which will raise your fund balance to 22.7%. Industry standards, because utilities are a little more costly, shall we say. When something goes wrong there, a screw up or something, it's got big dollars to it. It's got big dollars to it. So you look at 20 to 25% there. So I'm really excited for Mount Pleasant Utilities that you're going to be there by the end of the proposed budget this year. Then what will happen is that's a one-time, you're going to put it in reserves. After that, we're starting to do the master planning process. You will start putting together projects, putting that money into replacement funds so that we can replace the raw water line at 60 years old. We can replace a lift station out of what's called the capital replacement fund. So we started that, we started funding it for the first year, right up there in the $500,000. Next slide. Ready to go? So I put my glasses on, I hope you can see it, but you might feel free to look at your PowerPoint. This is page 7. So here you are. Remember I talked about all these funds? Here they are. And there's a lot of different funds in here. Some don't have very much money in them. Some have a lot of money. I think what's, well, I'll go to the next slide. So it shows 45 and 49 as far as proposed budget. Just trying to think capital's got a big number in here. Is that a big number?
Yes.
Yeah. So capital, we'll show you next slide. I'm going to try to go through these fast and we'll go back if we need to. Go to the next one then. So that's the revenue side. Here, doesn't look like it's very balanced. If you look at the numbers here for 2025, 2026, $90 million. Right down that far right corner over there, you see the capital project. So we expense those projects so that we could do them, but the money to pay for them is in its own fund, it's its own bond fund. So you'll see this number, but it's off like this because those numbers include the capital, because again, you have to put it in your expense budget improvement in order to do it. Obviously we're not doing it every year. Council will have to approve all these with contracts and so forth. So that's the other side of what you're looking at. So somebody were saying, well, how big is your budget? You've got the operating side, and then you do have a pretty big capital side still remaining to do here. Next slide. Okay. Grab your water bottles. I'm going to get my water bottle. We're going to jump around a little bit. So, but these are the big ones for us. So this one I want to make, take whatever time you need to go through this one. So here is the proposed tax rate. So what this budget proposes is that we take the voter approved tax rate this year. Last year, if you remember right, we took the no new revenue. We were kind of looking at things at that point in time saying, we're just not sure. And there wasn't a very big impact to it. And so I was like, okay, it makes sense. Let's do that. Let's get ourselves a handle around this. Let's go ahead and do that. This year, I'm recommending that you go and take the voter approval. Let me show you why, and then hopefully some good information that helps you with the community when they say, we don't want our taxes to go up, and no one does. I don't want to propose this. But I think you'll see why you're kind of stuck like you were in the condition of the utilities a few years ago. I'll show you what I mean. Next slide. Okay, so here, every state, by the way, has their own little interesting way they dictate your property taxes. They all do things different. So Texas has rates that include maintenance and operations, cemetery, and debt. So when you look at your total, this isn't the actual rate yet.
The rate was previous slide.
Okay, go back. So here's all the rates. You look, and here's the ones you look at the bottom. So this is the proposed one right here. This 2020.
Tax year.
And existing is down on the very far end of where you are over there. But you can see they add up to here, they add up to here, they add up to here, they add up to here. Next slide. So this year, what happens in the tax process is these two, cemetery and debt, have to be paid first. And so what has happened here is go down to the far side here. You see the levy, you see the numbers at 4.4, 1.2 for debt service. Your debt service is now due in the general fund. So when you establish the property tax rate, this has to be paid first. And so you can see it rose up to 2.3, which then, again, if you were to keep this adopted rate, even the adopted rate, it drops your operating and maintenance down to 3.5 million, leaves the city at $1.3 million deficit from what you see in the proposed budget present. Here's the voter approved number. Here you go. If you take the no new revenue number, it would be $1.5 million reduction from what it is right now. We have to cut $1.5 million from what the proposed budget is in front of me. And I want to say this because I think it's important. You look at what we do in the general fund, it's mostly a service oriented business. So 78% of the budgeted money that you see in the general fund is people. It's police, it's fire, it's parks, it's all of those areas, 78%. So when I looked at saying, okay, if we want to keep the same level of service we're providing now, and I only have 22% of the budget, which that 22% even includes utilities, like for the buildings, electric costs, all building costs. So it really is far less than 22% you actually have to do something without impacting the service level we do. And so my recommendation is that you use the voter approved for this year moving forward. Now, so next slide, the bad one.
It'll skip it on screen.
Oh, you can. So I put one in that's supposed to be hidden from you. Seems you have it in there. Because I was trying to think, what would that look like? If you were just like, what does that mean to try to cut that amount of money out of your budget? And I wasn't going to show you this because I don't want to make any like statements about anything, but city hall salaries and benefits are $506,000. Library is $490,000. So if you're looking at a $1.3 million deficit, those two would both go. And you can't even do that, but I just want to see what those numbers look like. Parks and salaries, you're getting close. I'm in the old parks department, $1 million. Streets, $783. Planning is $662. So kind of, as I looked at this, I'm like, I cannot go and say that I would propose anything different than the voter approved number. Now, let's give you where does that put us compared to other cities, right? Am I coming up here?
One more.
Go ahead. Get rid of this one. Okay, so obviously you represent the people. This is what you never want to have to do is say, okay, what does that look like to a home value of $154,000, $108 per week annually, the increased cost of going to the voter approved tax rate. Next slide. So wanted to show you, here's where the city compares. And I'm going to zoom in on this column right here, because here's your total tax rate. This is what this is what everybody pays at the one day. And so you've got, well, you've got Commerce, Clarksville, Texarkana, Kilgore, Winsboro, Longview, Greenville, Mount Vernon, Nacogdoches, Pittsburgh, Whitman, Dangerfield, Paris, Sulphur Springs. Here's where we are, right here. We're at 3.4. Next one above us is at 4.3. Tyler's the only one down below us of all these cities. So we look at that and say, well, okay, so we're low on the tax. Now, next slide, we're going to increase the tax rate for what we're proposing and see where we fall down. Change. Okay, guess what? The new tax rate is now in. Guess where we're at? Same place. Same place. We're still second from the bottom of this list of cities. So I would look at this and say it's not good to raise anybody's property tax. You never want to have people pay more than they absolutely have to. But at least what we can look at and say, where's everybody else? And if you look, these are the 4s from here down. You're 5 from all of those up above on tax. And so again, as I try to, you know, I have to look at saying, okay, how would I sell my constituency on not just the need for this, but how do we compare with other cities around us? We're in the same place at the bottom of this list of cities. I welcome you to keep this on hand with you when you're talking to our constituents and our residents about this. Is we're still second from the bottom of this.
Probably need to blow it up and frame it.
We probably do. And post it on the website and everything else.
I tell you.
Yeah. I was, you know, you're never feel pleasantly surprised about anything in this rate increases, but I was surprised to see us not move. We did this. So hopefully that, this is why I look at it. I do look at the impact of the property owners too, and no one wants to have people paying $150 more per year for property tax. Next slide. So then this just kind of shows you, here's, you know, when you look at this, here's the actual number that is for the operations and maintenance of it's 1.27. So again, debt increased significantly because we are a couple of years ago. We're seeing the first payments are coming in now for next year. So gotta make that payment. Next slide. So this just gives you our property tax history. Try to do that for you so you can see. So not long ago you were here, and there we are there. But again, when you look at that white section, over $1.1 billion of that has to do with their debt service payment up there on the top. And you can kind of see the no new revenue. They do, and even on no new revenue, if you have new properties built, they're going to get taxed. They don't get to vote. So you're they're going to come in. So you saw a slight increase, but it was no new tax. No new tax revenue collected on the state last year. Next slide. I'm going to hit sales tax a minute here. Again, you all know we talked about this a lot, so that's not a surprise for you. You can see 20, 23, 24. At the end, you've got the proposed for 26. I did put a 2% increase in sales tax revenue. If you go back, it looks kind of like you're running about the same as you were in 2022, 2021, in 2026. So, you know, we were hoping that would start flattening out. We just got, well, I think another slide with it. So we did just get the last, our last monthly report, which is the August one down at the end. And once again, you can see the green bar is, fortunately, once again, our collection rate compared to budget and compared to last year. So again, we were running below, and I think we talked about quite a bit. So my budget projection last year, we did this, is $500,000 under what actual sales tax revenue is coming in. And it's current year to prior year, it's 282 something, 238, 240. So it's not a lot less than last year, but it still is on the lower side of going up. That's the next slide. So one of the things we look at, and we obviously look at our own numbers, but Community Services does work for us. They actually do our collection of sales tax revenue, or they do our
Just analysis for projections.
they do our analysis. So here's what we also looked at. I'll just give you the blue line there is the forecasted, what their forecasting has to look like, which can be really hopeful. That's exactly what we see. Here's the point we're at right now. And they're looking at it this way. This black line here is what we budgeted here. The red line that you see running would be their, so they give a pessimistic 1, pessimistic worse, optimistic 1, optimistic 2. We can hope we're going to be purple or green by the end of the year. But here's where they're forecasting. We don't think that's going to make it. And so we looked at this and said that with a 2% increase, we're riding right at their pessimistic, actually a little lower than what they're proposing, showing a pessimistic outlook for us. So I only hope that next year's turnaround year, at least to some extent. I just showed the franchise fees one. That normal comes in every year. Go to the next slide. So now we're going to go into the city org chart. Here is here's who you are. Next slide. Every year we do we have you adopt what's called the total position list. So this is a list of all the positions. Here is the full-time people in it. There's a few part-time people, or how many are in each of those positions throughout the city. We do include the IDC, EDC down there as part of the 178. So citywide, we probably are more like 175, 174. Number of employees working here full-time. Insurance. So again, these are things that you see impacting the entire organization. Actually, we started with our broker. They were being told 10% was what the new rates were coming in, 10% increases. And we were pleased to see they worked on it and got a 4.96% increase. And so the way that works with employees, I believe that it's just say like it is. City employees, employee only, city pays 100% of the health insurance. Once you get into the family, you start picking up, they have family to it, then the employees start picking up portions of those premiums. So again, it's a benefit that the city gives all employees at no cost when you're the employee only. Then dental is kind of insignificant. It's 5.6, but if you look at the end, it's about $4,000. Yeah, both of those went up. I will tell you, based on the way insurance and health insurance goes, that's not a bad increase for us this year. And so again, that increase is rolled into the proposed budget. Next slide. I wanted to take a minute to talk about pay one. Because a lot of, I mention it sometimes, I think it could be confusing, so I wanted to lay that out, what it looks like for you. And so in the city, there are grades. I like to call them ranges. So they talk about here's starting, here's ending, and it has through that level. Now, in the past, that is not included. The directors, the city manager is not in any of these ranges. When I came in here, I absolutely believe they have to be in there too, because what you look at is internal and external market. And when you just have a great big range like this, you can pay anybody anything in the middle of that. That just doesn't make sense to me. This gives you a great structure to work with for people to keep equity there, to keep, you look at their responsibilities, their duties, and you're able to place them in a range based on those things. For instance, your city manager is responsible for everything that happens in the city. I'm range number 1. I would be the top range. Then you move your way down. Police chief is usually next. Because again, you look at if he doesn't do his job, what are the ramifications if these people don't do what they should do out on the streets, shoot somebody, are they act whatever inappropriately? The cost of the city is enormous for them not to be well trained, well managed, and do a great job. And then you go down fire and you move your way down the ranges. So they need to be included, but these have things like there's police officers, there's firefighters, there's janitors. They all look at their job descriptions. It's nothing to do with who's in these positions. Nothing. Shouldn't. It's where is your job description? What do you do? What's your responsibility? And then if you're placed in here. So that's what your compensation study did in 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. Created this, and then I think it got put in place 23, something right around there. So this got put in place. Next slide. So here's how you establish it. Again, you bring someone in that's new to the city, for instance. They're going to look at a start, which is going to be a step. Oh, we have a particular, I'm going to take this one right here. So very quickly, that's a fleet technician right here position. And so you're going to look at them. They're pretty inexperienced. You're going to look, okay, I'm going to start step 1. 1 year, 3% difference. Step 2. Step 3, third year. 4, 5th, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each person within those ranges gets put at a step, and you move your way each year. You know, why, right? Why does that happen? Well, your first year, you're not going to be as experienced or as the expertise to do this job. If accountable, I heard Councilmember Redford mention that, okay, well, the just get it automatically. Well, we now have evaluations. So if you're not doing a satisfactory job, you're not going to get that second. So that's part of it. Now, here's the other part that is quite common here, that you've worked here 10 years. I'm sure there's some people in that back row back there that work for us that are right here. And it's always like, when you approve step increases, they don't get that. Last year, we only did step increases. So there was quite a few people that got no raises last year. Because why it says that is it says, okay, when you do the compensation study, you're going to look at, here's what the firefighter gets paid, top and bottom. You're going to look at market, so forth. You're going to establish that. And so it's going to say, hey, market says that this would be the top pay for firefighters that you're comparable to. And so at this point in time, there's nowhere to go. So, that's the way the step increases. It keeps building. You keep building as you gain expertise and value to the city. It's part of keeping people here. They know they got a raise coming. So with that, you got another slide? Okay. I'm going to say, here's what the budget proposes in here. First, I want to say, though, there is a new compensation study that we talked about last year. We said we were going to do it. We were unable to get it done. Their timing was not able to get it done far enough ahead of time to have it really be part of this conversation. And financially, honestly, we're in a tight place, general fund. So we did talk to them. We already have them under contract. We already started doing it so that you'll have well ahead of time for next year looking at where is everybody. And again, I think that you're going to see quite a few positions that are going to be below the bottom range. And so we'll get there in just a second. So this budget includes a 3% cost of living increase. So we did any of this last year. Only people that got them last year were people who up at their steps. By the way, currently the directors, managers, they're not in steps, but I would again recommend you do the same. We include everybody in that pay scale and that pay.
So you're looking at a step increase for most everybody plus a 3%?
I'm not quite even there yet.
Okay, well, I'm just asking.
So you're going to get it right here. But let me get through this and then we'll open it up. So 3%. Can you go back to the steps? Yeah. So what happens? Actually, back to ranges. So you give a 3% cost of living increase. What it does is it takes this whole range and moves every single one of them up 3%. And so Now, your people that are in step tens, their range will move up 3%, and because they're at step 10, they will get that 3%. Following me? So when you do, these ranges, when you do a cost of living, which is across the board, they bump up all of them 3% on the bottom, 3% on the top. And something and why that's important. So if you do comparables out there, you're not here anymore, you're 3% higher than this by doing a cost of living. And everybody gets that. So maybe I should stop the cost of living, make sure that it's clear. Basically, you just move the whole scale up 3%. So employees might not like it, but you are actually, if we're low right now on comparables, this 3% will move you up higher to be more comparative. Now it's likely they'll be paying 3% more, so it probably you won't lose ground. We lost ground last year by not doing flash. Does that make sense to you all on the pay scale? No? Yeah.
So we didn't do COLA. Did we do one or the other last year?
We did step increases last year.
So the technician example, just so maybe this will help, that example you had of 30 minutes ago, more. So they'll have technically 3% cost of living, then a 3% increase by, I guess, he's probably done question or statement, but presuming it's going to be based on the last year's step, or is it going to go up 3% and then it's targeted on whatever that 44,592 would be times 3%, adding 3% to it.
So I guess
sense.
that's
what I'm saying.
Well,
so
almost more,
Yeah, well,
depending on the answer.
yeah.
I don't know that I really thought all the way through that, whether we, so we're gonna move the whole range up 3%, and then whatever that 3% is, it'll be the step up on top of it, so.
So then I would technically be more than 40%.
Probably slightly more, probably not a lot, but.
It is 6.
We're still 6?
It's 6.
But if you're at step 1, 42, you're getting a 6% increase, you're actually going to 45.9.
No. I mean, you
Yes.
are gonna get there,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
but it'll be
but you're gonna
step
still
2.
be a set.
But if you're getting 3% at step 1,
Yes.
and then you're getting a 3% COLA on top of that.
That's correct. Go back to that slide. Seems I got quiet for a second.
6%.
Back to, go forward to the narrative.
So being in the corporate world, that's not something that I agree with. But that's pretty much standard with any city that I've ran across.
I talked to some, and some of them say they don't have both.
Well, Farmers Branch and Canada, I mean, it's just.
Yeah, we're not Farmers Branch.
I'm just like, it looks.
But I talked to a couple of them, and that was some of the questions that I was looking at.
Well, I guess in my head, I would think it was being, just to hear my part of it is, I would think, if you're up for a step increase, you checked all the boxes, you would get moved up on the historical time frame, because that's basically the plan you were working. And then you would be added, I'm just in this example, then you would be.
Step first and then move.
Yes.
We'll do that.
It actually, it doesn't matter which
Doesn't?
order you do it because it'll come out the same number. But yes, effectively, you're moving them up the step and then giving them the COLA.
Okay. She has the answer.
That's fair.
She's my payroll. So let me just say this on this particular, because I think, I'd like to say that this is about employees and their paychecks. So what is it? It's, last year you did no adjustment for inflation for some people. You did not. So if I take it, it's slightly less than 3% last year, it's 3% this year. 2.6 or something like that. So I look at this as saying a 6% catches you up. This year from what you didn't do last year, if you were gonna try to keep up. I like to think that, the employees aren't going backwards, so you do the COLA, so you don't go backwards. You do the step increase to provide, acknowledgement of value to the fact that they got another year under their belt, they performed well for you, and you want to keep them. And so you've got those steps. So that's my philosophy, when I look at these two components, because I looked hard. It took me a long time to decide to support this, to put this in the budget. But thinking what we did last year, thinking of the fact that, to me, we have a very good organization. We have a hard time recruiting, honestly, right now. And so to not basically raising the bottom of what you're able to offer the first time person coming in is a good thing. And then I always believe that trying to acknowledge people for performing well and for their additional value they provide the city is important. Obviously, it's your budget. Obviously, understand the look of it. You're what at 6%. But I do think that based on the fact last year we had to say sorry. We had to cut the budget in a lot of places, in 15 positions. We were only able to do one of them. That with a balanced budget, and I worked very hard with this group to say, look, unless we can show that we're paying for it, I can't. So still have a balanced budget on this, and that's what's proposed. So sure, open it up. Questions?
Not really a question, I kind of need a good clarity. So if I am hired, I'm the fleet operator number one, and I know what my salary range is going to be this year. So I'm hired right. After a year, is it your anniversary year or is it a certain date? October 1. So I would get the step increase and I would get a COLA, or do I wait a calendar
So say you were hired today.
today?
If you were hired today, August 7th, you would not get step or COLA 10 more.
Got it.
Because our policy set doesn't honor that. So they wouldn't get another rate until 6 months when their evaluation is done. That's when they would go their step.
And after 6 months and an evaluation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then it's set
Then you 10-1, once the budget.
at 10-1, then it's 6 months more, right? And would I get a
No, ma'am.
revision? No, I'd still wait.
It's just the first 6 months.
Okay,
So you would get 6 months from today, and then not again until the budget is approved next year. So 10-1, if it's approved.
so what we're talking about with jumping, it's just this year only, really, because we did last year. You know, you were talking about jumping and skipping step 2, and basically they did step.
No, they got step. They just didn't get a COLA.
They got step last year, did not get, but this year,
Yes, that's what the proposal.
yes.
And here's what I look at, if you're making $100,000 more, you're getting a 6%, you're at least 106,000. And then the next year, if you get the same 6, you're at 113,000. How long can we keep this up? I mean, you look at your payroll, in 4 years, you're going up 24% on payroll. How do we justify that to our citizens?
So that's why the step 10 is there. So once you hit that point, you don't go up anymore unless there is a COLA. So once someone hits that point, it's no more.
That's what we're talking about doing this year. And for
Or you move to
33,
different
34
grade.
years, we didn't do this. I mean, I can only go by what I was there. It didn't happen. And the people on the bottom stay on the bottom. The people at the top keep getting more and more. And it's not equal raises. It's extensive raises for those at the top. And a guy down here making the 40,000 or whatever, he's not getting near what the guy up there making $90,000 and $100,000 a year. That's where my concern is. And the 6%, I've talked to some of the businesses around here, some of the banks, they're not doing 6, 12, 24 over 4
Corporate
years.
world, you'd be lucky.
Yeah.
Like 1.6.
I mean, that's where my concern is.
Well, the way I look at it is if I'm fleet operator number one and I get to the top, I better start looking at a promotion and trying to think what other position I want to keep looking up and doing a good job so that my supervisor will look at me and I can go to another position. to keep.
If we, that people get hired to understand this. So when they get 10, doesn't necessarily mean happy that they're locked down there, but, that is true. Mayor, there's a couple of hands coming up behind you. I can't see them. You want to open up for some comments from the? Yeah.
I was just wondering if we had the scale on how many people that work here that are already topped out. They're low.
I asked that earlier, both of
And
80% with whatever. Yeah.
so it's at 50%, you're not, you know what I'm saying, you're not really at 60%. Right,
I want to, you remember Holly? Because we had this number, but
Yeah, because I remember I got it from Candace too.
I want to say it's 7.
I mean, it's a pretty good observation if it's a percentage. And there's also advancement, right? Tech 2. Can you shoot for it,
You should want to meet someone else.
which changes your band or whatever y'all call it here. I would just say feel blessed because the corporate world is, for the last 6 years, has been very expensive. So, and I'm not saying this is wrong or anything. I'm just saying we should feel blessed.
Let me, you go back to the range.
So that was messing me up from 1 to 2. I actually calculated 5%. So did y'all assume that the poll was going to be this step of the example? That's where I'm not understanding. I'm not pushing back on
Steps are doing at 5%.
Well, the first step is 5%. Steps afterwards show 3%. Okay. That's all. That's why I was like,
Good point.
37 will not.
37.
Or 37 are
maxed
maxed
out.
or maxed out.
Is that just the general fund or that's
All funds.
Out of 100.
so? Here's what I would say to you, and I understand, I completely understand. Believe me, we had multiple days of conversation about this and whether or not this would be. Here's what I would say to you as far as doing this long time. There's always 2 choices in the city. You look at your revenue, you say, are we going to be a retainer of our employees and have and pay them so that we can keep them, or are we going to become a training firm? And honestly, that's what ends up happening. So I can tell you, you want to know how the director of leadership team is here. They're almost all brand new except for your 2 chiefs. And part of that was the recruitment process, very difficult. Matter of fact, we didn't find anybody with any experience about it. And so I understand that you don't want that, but this is, to me, how you pay these employees has to do with your perspective. If you look at this and say no raises, I think you're gonna see more people leaving to go to higher paying rates. I think I saw or heard something about like Paris, for instance, a couple of years ago, increased police salaries by 20%. 20,000 in order to attract and to keep. And so I wish that we would have a compensation study so you could look at this to say, oh yeah, we're low. I mean, I think that I met with police and fire, both of them are and do their own studies. I think we do know they're on the low end. And so again, the 3% cost of living actually moves their salary range up so that starting pay now is 3% higher. So you're going to stay competitive, shall we say, with other people getting those increases. So I understand corporate world and what you're looking at and saying here.
No, I understand both sides, sure. What's our retention level in the city?
From
Well, how many topped out do we have? What did we say?
37.
That's 37 that are 10 or above.
well, the question was is retention. Are we losing a lot of people? And I think at the moment, if I just thinking of police and
In the
fire.
past year,
Pardon?
in the past year.
We know that, Holly? I can get that. I don't think that, well. Deputy Chief, oh, Chief, here we go. Cash retention, what kind of retention do you have? Lose a lot of people to other places?
We do not.
Okay. Police?
We just lost through this past year in 50 days.
Yeah, so I would say, here's, I'll say to you, just my opinion, and you, I understand completely what you're saying. Is that you don't want to get into the essence part of it. And it's not easy to know exactly where that is. We're pretty good right now, but we didn't give that bump last year. And so my own personal recommendation is eat it, get your comp study, and then see where you're at. I'm gonna tell you, believe in the public safety realm, we're gonna be at the bottom. So,
Here's one of my biggest concerns, and I heard this all last year from so many people. Everybody's going out and saying, we didn't get a raise, we didn't get a raise. I heard that probably 500 times from everybody. It was blasted everywhere. But they forget to tell everybody that we did get our step, except for those that were maxed out maybe. But I have a real problem with that. If you're getting a step, it's an increase in your salary. I don't care what you call it. To say that we're not getting a raise and blasting that out there is wrong on every level.
it is a race.
It is a raise. And there's a lot of people out there that would be wishing that they got 3% or 5% or whatever. So.
I have a question. Don't she?
I don't,
So,
that's the same.
but I'm not sure, actually,
That's
just,
the same.
you know, like, step. I mean, cause didn't you start like 2 or 3 years ago?
There's always a step. It's just fire going.
You always had?
Not
We've
all.
had step, they've just been named.
Lisa, are you saying you've always had it too?
You got that after.
We've had it, yes.
You got that after after the police started it, what, many years ago. But it did get started after the
So for
police. started
many,
it.
so I've been here 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I started, there was a step plan. It wasn't necessarily followed for every department, but there was one. So you're a step one guy. A lot of times you got stuck at step one to somebody just matched and said, hey, you're doing a great job. Finally, we'll give you a little 50 cents here.
But those were actually like maintenance 1, maintenance 2.
It was a step, it was just, they didn't put it.
But the step plan was initiated when Ed Thatcher came here right before I left.
There was a step, an old step.
That
plan.
was
It
where the
not
whole thing
voted.
was set under a step plan, was when Ed Thatcher came. And before that, and Larry knows it, you know what it was like before. You got 2%, 3%. Some years when it was rough, you got 1%. I mean, one year we got 1.5%, and then got a 1% later. But the step plan took effect for everybody after Ed Thatcher. And here I was leaving when Ed was here. And
Well, that's why I want to ask you guys, the ones that are actually jumping through this, you know. What's an automatic? Well,
But we didn't always get no one ever got just a step off of,
you did.
you didn't get rid of step unless it was merit.
yeah, that was.
It was a merit-based step plan, I'm sorry. So yes, no,
Okay.
we were not given it, we've actually never been just given step.
Until
Until,
Ed implemented it, yeah.
Police are firing.
But it's still-
That was under my hearing.
Yeah.
But there, police are firing.
Police and fire,
Yes.
but State didn't say anything for everyone.
You're right.
Yeah.
Just trying to get it.
No, that's good.
It's an.
Do you want to say something, Didi?
Yeah, I'm looking.
It's,
Yeah,
Ms.
yeah.
Debbie,
Well,
it's not.
I asked about step one,
You don't know,
right?
They don't.
This is a retention type deal, it gives people
Nothing is.
stay. Because also with us,
Yeah.
our company, specialized parties. Right, we gotta do retention, because sometimes it's cheapest to keep them than to hire them. Because that's what we're saying, and you gotta remember too, the steps, we have them a while, it's always good, so it's kind of a new thing. But remember, when you start figuring your numbers on the steps, like they said, there are 30 people that are maxed out, and not get anything. So when last year, they got the step approved with no COLA. So 37 people, right, technically didn't get anything last year. I was living with they didn't get anything, they were maxed out.
Well, that's why I'm curious. The people that I'm looking at, I know stepped out. If you stepped out, I'm just, where are you gonna go? I mean, if you want more for your salary and you stepped out, those that are stepped out, is that where you're looking?
So we had people sign a step plan. The firefighter, we like to step plan. I was part of the merit races back in the day. So back then, we lost some good firefighters to bigger cities. So we lost more during the merit race than the step plan. And part of our retention is great.
As a state sunshine.
Right?
Yes.
It
It
is.
is.
You're not.
But even if fire police go to another agency, you're still a step lane, you can only top out. So
90% of the state
that's just
section
right.
of our police are with them. Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty standard on the fire side. Yes, ma'am.
And that's what we have.
On the fire side. Right.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say questions if I have
No.
to hear it.
Good.
Two set of standards.
And also think of this, when you're talking about, think of this. If you raise that insurance for 4%.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a 3%.
Yeah.
COLA.
Yeah.
I just lost them.
Yeah, they have.
That's what the top standard too, it keep that at $100,000. I mean, you just look at everything.
Well, I mean, I think, so what did I do here? I'm putting the big issues up here in front.
Yeah.
Because these are the ones that we need to debate, property tax increase. And if you don't mind, we do have, the chief had to go to a wedding. So he's right here. Chief, are you here?
Yes, hello.
You wanted to join the conversation.
It sounds so tiny, Mark.
The box tops.
It makes me look better to be small on the screen. It's like airbrushed. So if I might make a comment about steps, because this discussion has obviously got a lot of questions. First of all, in the police world and in the public employee that I've seen with cities, step plans are very common. And the steps do two things. First of all, they assist with retention because your first year employee comes in with very little experience or know-how and very little training. And after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they are better at their job, where any of us as department heads can give more responsibilities to them without a promotion. We can give them assignments and they just take care of them because they have the know-how and the experience and the training to do so. They also interact with our public much better. And so it is a retention mechanism so that as they gain experience, now this doesn't compute specifically to the corporate world, but it is similar where I had friends, I know somebody last year who got a 10% raise in the corporate world, or you'll go from a programmer 1 to a senior programmer. And suddenly that senior programmer is making 10 or 20% more. And they continue to get adjustments every year. But in the civic environment, especially in the police world, my entire career it's been, we're going to hire you on the bottom. But as you get better and as you cost us less in complaints and lawsuits and issues, we will pay you for your experience to stay until you reach the top. But we will continue to give you cost of living increases so that we stay competitive, so that our pay scale stays competitive. And so kind of like Greg alluded, right now, I can tell you that the police pay scale starts at 55,000, but we should be probably at 60 to 63,000 based on our current market. And so that pay scale has to continue to move with the cost of living that changes. And so that also your second year and third year officers are not now making the same as your first year officer. And a couple of years ago, we had a compression issue where I was hiring 1 year officers and paying them what my third year officers were making because they had not gotten their steps for their experience. And they were much better. And I didn't have to send them to 11 months of training. They were already on the road. And so the STEP program is very beneficial to the city. And frankly, when I look at how many employees we have and only 37 are at step 10 or higher, I'm a little concerned that we're not retaining people after 10 years for longer and retaining that experience more.
Thank you, Mark. What?
Can we talk about the percentage raises for a minute? In business that I've been in over the years, I've never given a percentage raise. It doesn't affect you a whole lot right now to give a 3% raise, but if you give a 3% raise for 5 years in a row, and you give a 15% to the top guy, and figure out what kind of money that is compared to what the worker is. I know we're talking to people in here that are higher level pay, so you're the ones who get the money. But this looks like to me that eggs and milk and gas all cost the same for everyone. So looks to me like the raises should be across the.
I understand that. I can speak from my experience of 33 years. It doesn't happen that way. You have pay plans set up this way. People at higher levels, you want to stay competitive. You want them to get paid. So it'd be different, I guess, if you looked across the state or across the country and found city managers. Well, city managers are different. They're on contract. So let's use a firefighter. Very common that you don't give captain, the chief, firefighter, the deputy chief, $1,000. Give them all the same. First thing it does is it crushes this plan. You can't use this plan anymore if you do it across the board the same amount for everybody, because none of them will go into the next step. Step plan is gone. And so
steps are the same all the way through. I
pardon?
thought we were just talking about.
Oh, I suppose you could do, raise them all $1,000. If you could do that. You could do that.
Oh, I'm not talking about your step. Oh, it's already set.
Okay, you're talking cost of living being.
That's what I'm doing. Just across the board.
That's an option.
That continues to compress your pay scale though, because when you look at your market study, okay, I as a police chief, I value my 20-year officer much more than I do my first-year officer who may never make it out of the academy. And so if I give my bottom officer $1,000 every year and my top officer, again, it's a greater percentage at the bottom, and eventually my pay scale will be compressed. And I've run into this in my career where people said, why would I become a sergeant and take on that responsibility and that liability? It's only a 3% raise to take on that. And I got to go back to graveyards because my seniority just went away. And so it compresses it when you do it dollar amounts. And frankly, I restate, Lieutenant Miller sitting in there on my behalf has got well over 20 years of experience. And that experience is very valuable to us as an organization and to our community, because that experience affects the entire organization. So frankly, he should make more than my first year or second year officers who are still in training. We're still sending them to basic training to get them to be good officers on the street. He can do that. He can be a good investigator, and he can also now lead people, and he can prevent those younger officers from costing us sometimes issues in civil litigation and even legal action, other types of legal action. So it's about compressing that pay scale, and we value some of our employees who have been around long, and so we don't want to compress that pay scale. And now we're paying them all similar money because what it tells them is your experience and training doesn't mean much to me.
Well, there is still a merit system, isn't it? Don't you still have promotions and merit raises?
That's what it is, merit. So basically, your step increases in merit.
I'm only talking about the cost of living raise. I think you should be paid by responsibility. The more responsibility you have, the more money you should.
Yeah.
So mine is what I was talking about, just the cost of living raise. I'm not talking about. And that should be up to the hands in the first place, with how much money they get paid on kind of job.
So Greg, may I make one more comment and then I'll be quiet?
No.
We're calling this a cost of living, but it is really a market adjustment. And so when we look at this pay scale, we say cost of living, and for years I've not liked that word. It is a market adjustment, and that's why we do studies to look at our market. And so, Greg is coming from, this is how cities do this, and a step plan is very common. but we do call them COLAs, but it's really a bad word in my mouth because it is a market adjustment. And a couple of years ago, we ran into, there were companies paying entry employees very close to what my police officers were make for what I consider an entry level job, but they were giving sign on bonuses. They had raised their starting pay. I think Pilgrims had a billboard out on the interstate over about 2 years ago. It is up for 2 years. They went from like 15 an hour to 21 an hour plus a $5,000 sign on bonus over 2 years. And we don't do those kinds of market adjustments, but that's a huge adjustment. This is our pay plan and how we've, and it's how we,
Sounds like a town like Paris, knew that they were behind and they went up on those salaries. I can understand police officers, firefighters, and that's a very competitive market. So that's different kind of stuff than what we're talking about, different color rates.
But, so we did the flat 1,000, just thinking, Darren, what everyone's saying, but we just did, I'm using 1,000 for the code. Yeah, for the adjustment, cost adjustment, for people to call it. But then, if you did that, and maybe it's different flavor of, $500 next year, whatever. But at some point, you're gonna have to follow suit with Paris, because this thing will never adjust, because you're not basing on CPI or any other percentage. And then you're catching up, and we're like 2 years, 3 years, or whatever.
But I think police and fire is definitely, like Mark was saying, is shouldn't be called COLA because no one wants to be a police officer right now. It's very.
Our police and fire association has already done a study. And Greg said they kind of know where they're at. They're way down, they're way on. When we do the study and into this year, we get into next year, gonna basically say the same thing.
It's okay. If you're behind, COLA's not gonna help you.
Actually, just to say, go ahead.
I just have one correction. We gave you the wrong number. There's actually 46 people who did not get a raise. So that is our apology.
And when you find out the retention rate for everybody in the police and fire show?
I ran that number while y'all were talking. So in 2024, there was 23 people let go. And this year in 2025, there's been 14.
And let me point out something that is probably the most overwhelming factor to me and to everyone I speak with. We are not Paris, we are not Farmersville, we are not McKinney, we are not Tyler. Our city is in a terrible state financially. We don't even know what the next few years are going to bring with all of the stuff coming, what's going to happen with Tri-State, what's going to happen with the fire truck. We're responsible to not only the employees, but the people of this city. And I can't speak for anyone but myself, but we get hammered on this. We have to, and if we're talking about increasing, even though it's a voter approved raise on their taxes, and we're still giving 6% across the board, how do we support that in the next 2 years from now, 4 years from now? Where's all that money going to come from? Because in 4 years, we're going to raise it, what, 6, 12, 24% is what our salaries are going to go up, which will actually be more than that. How do you justify that? I mean, if you keep doing what we're doing, and our salaries, if you look at the part of the budget that is consumed by our tax revenue, how do you justify that? I mean, we're sitting in the middle, not between just the employees, but also from the citizens who elect us, who are very concerned about where we're going and our spending habits. You can't spend something on an association's gift or whatever that I don't get calls about it. I don't know about everybody else, but everybody is getting calls about where the money's going. How can you justify knowing that in 4 years, if you continue this pattern, that we'll be up, at least 25% increase across the board in payroll?
When does the salary study come out?
They will start working in January. They couldn't get it this year to us in time. So they'll start working in January after all the budgets are approved so that they can go out to the cities. Y'all will give us the cities and then they'll start working on it.
We won't have.
budget.
Yes, sir.
When did they say, we told them we needed it done by
Did she say March or April?
March. But you're gonna, I would just say, so. Couple quick things, you talk about the cost of living increase, and the chief is right, so it is a market adjustment. Because these are all the base rates, this is what we offer for all these positions. Where are you guys in fire, which letter are you?
The double.
Yeah, it ranges from
A or B?
AA to KJ.
That's
So-
firefighter
Yeah.
one or two.
What's that?
Fire one or two. And
That's it,
firefighter
right?
one, firefighter two is A.
Alright, so starting page 50?
Yeah.
Okay, so the step increase doesn't do anything. This is what we'll look at when you do the comp study. It'll look and say, what is everybody else paying? And if it says 55 or 60, you know what you're offering people. So new people, where are you gonna go? So when you talk about how you can afford it, well, your choices are retaining, being market level and retaining good people and hopefully keeping numbers down and not needing to expand more people. Or when you do the 3%, when you said, Mike, that the cost of living doesn't make any difference here, it does, because this base becomes 3% higher. So now your base is whatever 3% is on that, 1,500, not a lot, but it goes up $1,500. Now, when you do your comparable, you're gonna find it, this is now your base rate. If you leave it here, you did across the board and don't raise that, your comparable is gonna come in the same, shit. Whatever your comparables are, they're gonna come in. Any other city gives 3%, you're gonna fall behind, 3 more %. So at some point in time, you're gonna look at this and you're gonna get it and you're gonna say, crap, now what are we gonna do in order to stay competitive? We're gonna give 10% raise to bring the whole range up. Or particular, so fire's gonna be in one place, police is gonna be in another, parks department people are gonna be in another. Everybody's gonna be in a different place competitively when you look at this, at least you gotta look at it all. And I think that actually a market adjustment was made 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years ago, where everybody got bumped up 10% or something like that.
I remember one year you got about 10%.
And that's when they went on to the plan.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think why I'm recommending this, I understand there's gonna be lots of people saying we don't get this or whatever. The 3% moves this up. The whole range up 3%. So now your lowest competitive first year position, you're at least a little more competitive. If you freeze it here, and other people are giving them, so they're doing this after everybody's budgets go through. So if other cities are giving them, you're gonna be less competitive. And so I look at this because I do believe that public safety for sure, and I haven't looked at the other ones, but they're on the very low end. And they've done their own studies. Yes, they're showing that. I know, and I will tell you, we as a council will pick who the comparables are to make sure. But I think they actually use very close to what the old compensation study did in looking at theirs. So I look at the 3% as it's going to save you from having to look a year down the road and say, now we're 3% more behind when we look at this. And I understand the issue of you're raising taxes and you're giving raises. I understand that, but to me, managing people and wanting to look at retention, because I think that's what you're here for. That's part of it, is you're gonna stay competitive. And I don't think we are right now. I don't think we are.
Well, I guess the question, really is more around intrinsic cost. Mark kind of started earlier. It sounds like I'll just use police as an example because they need the most training, right? You got a year one person, he's at whatever, making the base. How much, I don't know if the answer's here today, but generally, how much does that cost in training and management and like efficiency? Like what's a value there, right? For that low efficient employee is the one thing.
Yeah.
Then the other one, right? So keep talking about retention. If we did lose 5 people, right, across the board, various departments, and what's the acquisition cost? What's the training cost to acquire the next person, train them up, make sure that they can do the thing, whatever it is they need to do. So I know we're talking this part, but in reality, from a department standpoint, you gotta look at both sides of it. And is it just gonna put a stone money away, hiring a new person? Maybe 3, depending on how long that person sticks around, 'cause usually new hires, sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't, especially in the first year. So just a thought.
Yeah, I think that's, Police Chief, Mark, are you still on?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Do you want to talk just a little bit about how long it takes and how much money you spend before you put somebody that's a first step person that you
Sure.
have through the academy?
Yeah, we have one in the academy right now. He will be in the academy for 6 months. And then he will come back and he will do another 4 months of field training with a trainer who we pay overtime as a compensation for training somebody. We will probably dump $80,000 before he does a day of work without having somebody attached to his side. And that's the first year officer. And then that first couple of years, we actually have a lot of training we put them through that the academy doesn't cover to try to bring them up to our standards of what we really are more comfortable with. And a lot of those are state required trainings. We work through their certificates that the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement says, hey, if you want to be a master officer, here's the trainings you need to do. We start them immediately on those trainings because they talk about use of force. They talk about dealing with people in various circumstances, interviewing people. So the first few years, we spend quite a bit of money on our officers.
Fire Chief, you want to?
Yeah, in a second. You're next.
So can I say one more thing?
Sure.
12 seconds.
Studies have also shown that officers every year they're employed cost you fewer complaints and less in lawsuit dollars.
Thanks. You took 11 seconds. Good job, Chief. Fire Chief.
As for us, instead of hiring somebody to the academy, we hire our to the academy.
Yeah.
But again, if they're just out of the academy, they got the basics. So then we take side of the shield, then they start getting experience and training and become more productive. Just like we're fixing to give life-saving awards to us next week. The guys that went to this call that we're going to give them had the experience, knowledge, and know-how. This was not a typical, hey, hit the tree, pop over the people out. They were able to innovate their experience, abilities. So again, the police have stuff they have to go through requirements. Our guys have CE we have to do. A lot of it we can do in-house without having to go out. But again, professional development, we want our officers to be, professional development. And yes, we're sending them to officer development schools, driver operator schools. So we can go back and quantify how much spending. But our command staff, DC, deputy chiefs, captain, all of got 20-year employment, except for one.
And I'm assuming, I didn't hear it, so I'm just gonna ask. And that includes any special hazard, using special retardants for different kinds of fires, and all those things require somebody to get a certificate or a license, right?
It basically, when they get out of the academy, they're certified.
Yeah.
Then it's just building on, the training, going get better training to do the electrification. The more you go to a fire, the better you can read smoke. When we look at a fire, we don't just see smoke and fire. So okay, we know how bad to do it. Yeah, the more experience they have on the job, it just makes them a better firefighter. They serve the public better. I sleep better at night because I got these guys. I don't have to worry about it. It's got the same thing with Mark. Not worried about once they get trained, are they going to do the right thing when they're out there? Yeah. So.
I think, if I could take one comment. So, Councilmember Cabela, if you just, without a doubt, you all would feel the same way. So, you would not see this proposed budget with me if it wasn't balanced. Revenues and expenditures. You wouldn't see this. So, you talk about how we're going to continue reporting this. You have to balance your budget. You can't balance it, you can't do it. I know you mentioned the property tax increase, but I looked at that too and I said, $1.1 million of that property tax increase is to pay for debt. They didn't have anything to do with that. And so to tell them, well, man, I gotta pay a lot more in property tax, that's true, but it isn't because of these raises. We were able to balance that part. Debt service part is what took us up. I think the actual O&M revenue is like 400 to 1,000. And if you just take inflation off of some of that, you're gonna eat that up. So actual operating budget wise, really didn't actually increase your expenses a whole lot above inflation, even with the raises. And I understand you're gonna have to make the call at the end of the day, on what that looks like. You are voted and elected by the people. Totally understand.
So as a business owner, I agree with both chiefs, because especially after COVID, when people were not rotating in and out, I did not have trained employees. So it was costing me more money in overtime, it was costing me more money in training, and I could not retain them. I now have a slimmer staff because they are trained. They've been doing it for 5 years. They're awesome. I can actually, because I have trained employees, can come to city things and visit with people who visit about city. I would not have connected. The same thing with the chiefs and the fire department and the police department. There are other things that they're going to be able to give more of their attention to the people, the protection. And so right now, and I'm just throwing this out, the guys on the back row for years, these ones that are coming up as they get trained, they're going to work more efficiently. They're going to work better together as a team. And at some point, you might not need every position filled, as they will work well together as a team. And that's what I have found out as a business. I don't have to fill every space.
I'll say one more thing and then I'm done with it. I promise you.
No,
On this page anyway.
Yeah, we're not taking a break.
Yeah. But I can see the step plan. I knew when it was there. I would also like to make sure that every year the evaluations come so that what percentage of those actually, because it's hard to evaluate someone you work with every day and be objective, but how many are going to be positive that are going to lead them into step plans? But I can see with the step plan, if we were to go with maybe just $1,000 for everybody or something like that. But
First call.
or for the market or whatever you want to call it, but that would be
I don't-
3% plus.
Yeah, with the fire and police, I don't think you can do that without, like Mark was saying, crushing the chief.
It's still $1,000 increase plus 3%.
It's just different to them, but
Well, you can't treat the other employees different. I mean,
like public safety versus.
I know, but the guys who are out working in the water plants and dealing with creating fresh, superior rated water bars, the guys who are out there working on the streets, digging the ditches, the parks guys that are mowing and cleaning, the animal shelter people who are out picking up these dogs, and I know there's a difference, but they all have to make a living. They all have to buy their groceries, so they'll get their 3% and then, they would still get 1,000 more or 800, whatever's appropriate. But that's just my opinion.
Oh, the 3% COLA and then they're whatever.
They're 3% step.
Oh,
She's saying instead of the COLA, like instead of the percentage, saying the flat seat.
yeah, I like what my.
All right, I think that, so, what's that?
Input.
Well, this is a huge issue, as is the property tax one, even though you're in a tough spot, is cutting 1.3 million. That's when you have a situation where your budget is absolutely a mess. I will say this to you. I got 1 month, right? I won't have to live with this budget, but I have to live with this budget. I've had to do this for 30 years. I'm not going to give you a budget that's not balanced. And so I have to be able to show the revenue coming in is going to equal the expenses going out. And we have scoured for 2 years these budgets. I believe, and police may disagree, and fire may disagree. I know the chiefs are going to disagree, but I think that you're staffed at a good level, right? The level of service people give. And, some might disagree with that. I know the chiefs will both disagree with that. I think you are. So when you talk about where our next expense is gonna go, I don't think you're gonna have to have a lot of people for a while. I don't think you have to do the $100,000 for a new employee. You're gonna do $1,500 step increase for one, and a $1,500, a $3,000 increase versus the need to hire somebody else because you're retaining them. I just, you know, it's a tough decision. I respect any direction that you need to go. I would like to say this on $1,000. I'd like to digest that and really be able to send something back to all of you saying, but this is what happens with the step one. And, you know, so all of these steps are gapped specific percentage amounts. So they look at that so that you don't get what Mark talks about, start compacting. So when you start doing the $1,000, I just want to make sure it does, and I want to make sure you understand that. It could be that we just give them one, everybody gets $1,000 this year, and these steps stay right where they are. And you're going to get you're going to get comp study, and you're going to say, dang, we have 3% more we have to catch up than we would have if we had done that. So I'm just, I'd like to be able to really look at plan how it works. If you want to do $1,000 for it.
And I would just say, in this world of computers and people who operate and know their business, if you're set at 43 and you went to 48, and with your $1,000 you got 49, everybody got $1,000. You go add $1,000 to every one of those numbers in that step.
Well, I think one thing too is that everybody's getting caught up on COLA instead of like what Mark was saying, like marketing, trying to keep up with the market versus inflation.
You're probably, it's highly likely that when you do that study is, which ones are police? Like the office?
Okay.
Fire?
Okay.
Letter
Okay.
K.
They're kilo.
They're right here. That comes on, that's at 55 now. You do a cost of living, move it up, it goes up. 57, 58, still gonna be low. But if you stay there and everybody else is getting a raise, you're gonna lose not only the 3 you didn't move, but whatever everybody else is doing in their budget right now. And I guess we could do some evaluation. We should do some all around and see what people put in their budgets this year. It's just the market side of this is what we're talking.
And that's not total compensation too, so.
It's not. It is not. It's why the study is a total compensation.
Oh, okay.
Takes all those into account. Is the next slide we're actually gonna go into the specific budget?
Yes.
So, council, if you'd like to take a break, it's probably a good time. We're gonna start talking to individual departments like this now. What time is it? How many minutes you want to give Mayor? 9? 12 minutes. Oh, actually, 12 minutes.
12 minute recess.
Recess. Thanks, Chief.
He hasn't stepped away.
Is he?
His camera's off at the very least.
I'm here, Greg. You're welcome. Thank you for keeping.
Adios.
And they. So they. Right, yeah. And is that
Would you add a house there? That's what. He says they don't. Yeah, that's right. Like, I mean, once it's going, problems now and add this or that, what happened? But you can't. I can't do everything. Unless I have.
So it's.
There you go, yes. It's project manager. You have a lot They got your issues. Just drop back. They look great. All in. Good. Yeah. You follow they never call me.
It's going good. I'm very fun.
I'm used to that. You're married.
Oh. Well, Thursday.
Wait, look nice to hear.
No, I'm like, I know. They did not. So much.
So can you call back to whatever you cap that call? Amazing, the door you have very silent crowd. Silent like an iPhone thing. So, we're gonna, in just a second, the last part is what we wanted to do here is department heads, fire, police, planning, utilities. Yeah, I think those are the big departments. We gotta have general administration. You can ask questions about any of them, but those 5 will come up and just go in 5 minutes each. And, in your packet, you see, here's your org chart, and then here's your line item, that's in your, it's not in the budget side, it's in the budget. It's in the presentation. I think, I did want to say, you know, Councilmember, you bring up, Councilmember Corbell, you make a comment that how are we gonna keep paying 6% every year? And I would say, every year you have to adopt the budget. So it will be a decision made every year, whether you continue paying it, stop paying it, don't pay it, just like last year, we did not give a living increase. So I do want to say that it's not an automatic, that it gets paid. It has to be approved in the budget for that to be paid. So with that, I think we're gonna jump over to EDC.
I have one question before you get over to that.
It's $100 a question. We need more revenue. Go ahead. From the EDC.
Okay, well, let's be back on the city part.
Uh-oh.
On the budget overview, you're talking about the street fund. You just getting the money for that on your gas franchise tax.
Yes.
We used to get some franchise tax off of that. And I think,
What?
we used to get a franchise tax off of electricity for Swepville.
The streets? Go ahead.
Yeah, that franchise tax it's the electrical and the gas.
Okay, and also, cable TV and stuff.
Yes,
Is that the
That's
streets?
not listed on here.
yes. Some of the cable goes towards streets and then some also goes towards the PEG funds.
Okay, it's just not listed on here.
On that overview page,
Yes, right.
it's all franchise taxes, not just.
My overview, I just tried to hit kind of a couple of them.
I know,
Right.
on that, you get a little over $1 million deal.
They all the franchise, whether it's gas, electric, cable, it all goes into one account.
Okay.
And so that $1.3 million number I know you're supposed to that is all of
There's
those.
that left part in there on that franchise tax, that's the way you did the street overlay for about 10 years.
Yes,
Is that where the satellite things on top of the water tower?
no,
All right, so I believe we have Mr. Carter with us. Kevin, you here?
How y'all doing?
We have the new EDC director. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Monday. I'm excited about it.
Well, so we have up here your budget for this year. I don't know if you want to make any opening comments or just here to answer questions. Are you even official right now, or what is your first day? What's your first day?
Monday.
Oh.
Monday is my first day.
You're not official yet, so you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, but I did help prepare the budget, and we did present it to the board, and the board did approve the proposed budget at their last board meeting. I believe that's right. Isn't that right, Debbie?
Yes.
You have any questions for the EDC council? Everybody knows, EDC board, this is their recommended budget for your council has to approve this.
Last year it was more detailed. This is just a summary.
yes. We do have more detail. This slide is just a separate of it.
Do you want to see more detail?
No, there was questions that I had last year, because they were like, I'm making this up. You guys can help me on the back row. Seems like there was like fund and it was called miscellaneous something
Contingency?
and we're like, what is that?
Yes.
And it was for furniture. I mean, it was just various things that were like, that were popping up after the summary that popped up on the detail.
Yeah, that was the contingency.
That was a contingency, but,
Yeah, I remember.
Okay,
we were told to put that in there too by city manager. We never had that. We've never had it before. He told we got told to put it in there.
I remember some talk afterwards, like, what's this? You know, I don't know, it's always did it before and.
So we just put it in there. He told us to do it so we wouldn't have to go back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember.
Is that the contingency fund that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah.
so that's not.
We did move it. I know we did move the contingency fund down to 50,000. I think last year it was 150.
That's correct. So their contingency is within their other expenses.
Correct.
It was 150 last year, it's 50 for the proposed.
Right.
So seeing as I'm like, I got a month left, less than a month left. So I think it's unfortunate that we are showing all of your line items, so I'm gonna ask, if you're looking at them, you know, when 2/3 of your budget just says other expenses, I think that's kind of the question of what are those other expenses? So, Jillian, maybe if you could go through those, because we compacted them. And so maybe just go through that.
I've got a copy, if you'll look at it.
We got it.
Okay.
So within the other expenses, the first line item is intergovernmental expense. So that's the 15,000 that they pay to the city to manage their books.
Right.
The second line item is the economic development commitment, and that's $1 million. It's $1 million last year as well. Contracts and retainers is next. It's 250,000 both years. And then they have their priority projects line, which is $250,000 for the proposed year. They have prospect and site visit line, which is 50,000 for next year. And then their contingency that went from 150 to 50. So that's what's all within the other expenses.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
And the commitment one, I think is, we all know what that basically means. They're setting aside money if they find somebody to provide incentives to. That's a commitment that they are gonna do, and they don't have to come back. I mean, they still have to have it approved, but they don't have to go get budget approval amendments for that.
One approval, not two.
Right. Any other comments from board members back there?
Any more questions?
More questions? Kevin,
Yes, sir.
when are you gonna bring the first new business into Mount Pleasant?
City.
Well, hopefully soon. Well, hopefully hopefully we've got some things on the horizon already. I've already had a couple of conversations with a group that met with somebody in Chicago. And so anyway, I've been working behind the scenes already. So hopefully, we've got some feelers out there. I won't promise on a project ever, but we certainly will have some prospects. That's for sure.
Good. You need our sales tax to go up.
Yes, we do.
We do, but I think we're going to be. We'll. It looks like with 1.7 million, that's through the first 10 months. We should go over the 2 million mark. So I'm optimistic it's going to go up.
So,
It's free too.
so Kevin, we do want to. I mean, I got a chance to at least meet you over Zoom anyway. I think a lot of other people did. We certainly want to welcome you. And I'm going out, but I'm close enough to keep my eye on you. So I want to make sure we appreciate you making this commitment to this community, because I think you're going to do a great job for them.
Yeah.
Us.
Well, I think we've got a great product to sell, and we're going to go out and do it.
All right. All good, council? Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, thank you.
Have a good night.
See y'all Monday.
Yeah.
All right. Slideshow continue. You need the next slide.
I'm waiting on her.
All right. 7:30. Do we have a quick time that you guys are gonna pass out? No, not yet. Very well. So here's where we are gonna dive now right into the numbers of the specific funds. General fund, again, is slightly less than last year. You can see all the departments, or this is the revenue side. I think just making, so I said we increased this one by 2% from what we believe the actuals are going to end up, not what we budgeted. That's the number that I budgeted that was too high. Yeah, we dropped last year down to where we thought actuals were going to be a little worse. So, a lot of these like permits and fees. So here's one that we've actually already brought in more in the planning department than what they budgeted. But the year prior, or that audit year you just looked at, was a good $100,000+ under that. So that one is, you never know what that one's going to be like. You do have things in the works, people talking to you, so you can gain some idea of what that number is going to look like. But that's why when you ask the question, how do we keep monitoring it? Right here, some of these are variable, some not so much. It's like property tax isn't very variable, it's much more variable. Some of the others are. Next slide. General fund. So here you all are. In the general fund, again, we've got all the departments listed here. Actually look, and I guess we'll go through all of them, but most of them came in either slightly above or slightly below what we actually budgeted this year. And did you show that massive surplus at the end that I get left you? $7,877 out of 15.8 million. Next slide. Again, looking at it, here's just a quick, take all the numbers, put it on a pie chart, you can see where most of your money comes from. Next slide. Here's on the expense side, you can see 2/3 probably of your budget goes to police and fire. And you can see again on the pie chart, that looks like. Next slide. This is what we, this is what the organization looks like. I'm sorry, it's not what the organization looks like. This is what we call the administrative group. So this is City Hall and utility services over there. You got the Civic Center, municipal courts in here as well. So we lump this all basically into one fund, right? Jillian?
One overarching department, yes.
One hour part. I meant to say something right at the very beginning. I'm gonna say it right now, because I will get it. First year finance director. Last year was a catastrophic weave of numbers that were all over the place. It was so hard to get. We would get $1 million deficits one day and $2 million surpluses the next day. It was a mess, the books. She did a phenomenal job with this year's budget. I just want to commend you for that, for this council. Phenomenal. All right, carry on. Do you want to take this?
Oh, you got it.
Well, again, we're just gonna, if you have questions, I'm gonna not say much about these things, but it just kind of tells you legislative is the city council. You can look at this one if you want to take a minute. That's your budget. So 4,000 in communications, 1,000 advertising, business and travel is 10,000. Memberships, contractual fee services, what's that? What's the 20 over in, I know we have like dues to pay sometimes.
It's like software packages, stuff like
Yes.
that.
I just lost it now. Our codification,
Your what?
our codification, like our online
Oh.
ordinances and all
Got
that
it.
comes out of there.
Okay, so that's all of you, if you wanna look at, we basically, as you can see, we left to the same. And I think, you know, what the actuals are, you can kind of see what you've actually spent on that. You don't have to spend it, that's what's always an issue, it's like, it's here if you need to, but if you don't spend it, it goes into the surplus at the end of the year. Stay here. So general administration, a lot has to do with payroll, legal is here, so we increased legal by 25,000. I would say to you is, this year with me, with all of you, with a lot of EPC stuff, we spent more on legal than what we anticipated. I actually think we're actually above 125 right now. I think that will settle down. There was a lot of transition time of huge, big EPC projects that took a lot of our time. And so we had increased that. Obviously, you don't have to spend it unless you need it. So hopefully it's going to be becoming less than that, but we want to make sure we were realistic about what number we put in there. Next slide.
Some of the groups that I've been seeing that with the advertising, we've got a lot of, but we have money set aside for that, but it looks like we're not using very much of it. It's nice to actually see us doing some advertising with the city this year, you know.
The who?
All the advertising in all the different groups. Not, it's all the way across the board when you're looking at the advertising.
So maybe we just explain what advertising is.
So like advertisement is like if we have to put an ordinance in the newspaper, if we have to, and some have to be published more than once, if there's a public hearing or something like that, that's what the legislative advertisement is. Even if,
Legislative, okay.
so, it's required. And so like, even if it's for, another department, it's newspaper or something that we budget for that has to go to the paper.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a advertising that come to the city.
No.
Next slide.
You can work with it.
Human resources, elections, technology, non-departmental, rental expenses, liability insurance.
So on technology, y'all been up on that?
Where's that number?
Data processing maintenance.
So within technology, if you notice on the screen.
It's not this. It's not on the spot.
Yes, under operation.
Yes. The data processing maintenance, it was not budgeted properly last year. And so this year, on this slide, it shows a big jump. That's the number it should have been last year. And then on the next slide, you'll see that it looks like one line item went up a lot, one went down a lot. It was moving it to make sure that we're coding it in the proper places, in the proper departments. And so on this one, you see the 270 for data processing maintenance. That's going to be all of our financial software. That's going to be all of IT payments. The portion that comes from the general fund comes out of that line item. So that's why it's so big. And then on the next slide, you'll see for the utility fund, it comes out of the non-departmental department.
Why don't you go to that next slide? 'Cause I mean, it's a good question on technology.
So I thought we were saving money.
Well, it's.
We are, but a lot everybody's budget had that in there and we took it all and put it in one.
Yes.
Hmm.
We simplified it and have it in one place now in each fund instead of in every single person's department.
Where's the technology one? Big.
270.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
No. Did you go to the next slide on it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I thought I saw one that was like 1.2 million.
This is jump.
That doesn't make sense. Okay, yeah.
So this is current year technology and this is next year technology.
so where are we tracking, because it's.
We're tracking for this number for this year.
Understood, but what goes into that number outside of the data processing, is this also where we're tracking our IT contract as
Yes.
well?
That
So
includes
it's a base.
software and IT.
So like every department had data process.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And so that's what we did, just,
But I'm just also making sure the contracts are like, understand when we see that.
yeah.
I think that, I mean, so yes, in the budget itself, last year, when we went through it, data processing was everywhere. We didn't know what we were paying for anything. Each department would go and do their things. And we were like, this is crazy. We need to put it in one. And I think the actual savings, do you remember what it was? 200, 3? Yeah, I think that's right.
It was like 200 to 300.
200,000 to 300,000. We can let you know. We were able to save 200,000 to 300,000 by getting rid of the last data max and bringing these folks in. Yeah, you can't, because we moved it, because we had it all, it was just budgeted throughout the whole organization, made no sense.
Yeah.
Probably one thing we'll do, this will probably happen is building and grounds also. We got some other things that there's money spread in different departments and you have to take care of his air conditioning unit and fire buildings have to take care of theirs. We got the same contractor, but everybody's doing their own. We have a building maintenance group that ought to take over all of it and should function as all building maintenance. And that way it's coordinated. We don't have, we saw that we had like everybody was budgeting that the air conditioner might go out. Like every department, all buildings, like why? Maybe one goes out, might as well have one budgeted air conditioner going out instead of 5. So that's something that we are going to be able to, that we should put that together in one fund under the building and grounds group, who has people who know how to maintain most things, and then they can manage contractors and these things. Fire chief does one, police chief does one. Anyway, that's a sidebar. Okay. So now if you kick into utilities is under us too again. So this is kind of like our umbrella group of people at City Hall of the utility side. Next slide. Unless you have questions, just stop if you have any questions you want to keep going. Yeah. Cemetery, civic center, community center. Community center is Pilgrims.
Yes.
Pilgrims Community Center. Slide. Municipal court is here. Bottom line, I will say, is down here. It's proposed as 6.7 million. It's down slightly from year before. wondered who was in the dark over there. Next slide. You want to say something about cemetery?
So this is just the overview of the cemetery fund with the portion coming from property tax and then allocating to its details that were on the prior slides.
Civic Center, I want to stop for a second. So, it actually showed up on the audit as well. So when you look at the money we do for tourism, we are showing you a deficit on this fund. This fund, we have to come back to you. I talked to Candace a little bit. We have to figure out, how we can turn that number around. One thing that maybe some of you know about or aren't aware of, but actually the mayor and I, and haven't heard back, have been trying to get a meeting with Pilgrims. And I understand when the Pilgrims Community Center got built, there was some commitment, although we don't see it in writing, to give quarterly amounts of money for operations. I'm trying to get with them, not be responsive for them there. Find out if they're going to start getting that money. If that money does in, then this will be fixed. But we're also looking at the other alternatives. What kind of cuts do we have? End of the day, what's going to happen probably is this general fund's going to have something else. Clear this fund. So, yeah, we'll be back on this one. This is not the answer. It's not the solution. We need to balance that out, show you a balanced budget, and tell you how we're going to do that. Next slide. Nobody looked like they remembered some agreement with Pilgrims, $30,000 quarter. That really be good. Here it does.
That was probably 40. I guess that was the deal.
Did Sherry leave?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive that was the case.
Yeah, we'll check out. I have written him a note.
I'll go ahead and put a note that's in an email.
I'm doing a budget. We're doing budget, and we chat. And just so you know, I mean, it's common or not, it's understandable, because you can build a new building, but if you don't have the money to operate it, you can't operate it unless it's under a deficit. So a lot of times companies like Pilgrims, who it's named after, would do something like that. So it's not uncommon. I just wish we could find something in writing that says this is what we like. Yeah, find out. Okay. All right, we're going to, Chief, are you there?
I am. Yes, sir.
Have you had a good night so far?
Sure. Completing the long drive. It's great.
All right, Chief, take it away.
So again, I apologize for not being there, but I'm going to thank Greg real quick for keeping us as his department heads involved in this budget process, and thankful to Lieutenant Mark Miller, who's sitting in there for me tonight in case there's any questions that I can't field or I have connectivity issues. But the police department, you see it up there. We also have animal control, which is onto the far right of the bottom of the screen. We have 50 employees total. 46 of those are at the police department, with 4 over at animal control. 33 are sworn officer positions, and then we have 9 dispatchers, and then we have administrative support staff. We handle about 24,000 calls for service each year, and that fluctuates year over year. Last year, we saw an 18% decrease in our Part 1 crimes, which are the most serious crimes, so we were quite pleased with that. And over the last 5 years, we've seen a significant reduction overall. And so far this year, we're tracking for about another 6% reduction, so we're crossing our fingers that continues. You know, we do a monthly report on crime stats, our arrests and traffic stops and stuff. And for example, DWI arrests are up 47% this year, which I'm quite pleased with. The officers do a great job. And since 2020, during COVID, we've seen about almost an 80% increase in arrests that our officers are making. So, and I can highlight a few of those. I don't know if this is the time and I know it's getting long for you, so I'll kind of pass some of that, but we are quite pleased to have a victim services person who works for us. We obviously have somebody who runs our evidence room and our records department, which is has a lot of legal requirements there. Our evidence manager was replaced this year as one retired, and she handles several thousand items of evidence that come in each year, let alone disposes of evidence from the past. We try to be interactive with the community. We've done, I don't know how many community engagements we have done this year, but we do them all the time, and I'm grateful. So the biggest line item budget, Jillian, is there a slide that shows our budget?
Yes.
Okay. So this is shows animal services above. Greg mentioned air conditioning units. I can tell you that that building is now 8 years old, and each year costs us a little bit more because new buildings you usually don't have to fix. But we have 4 staff out there, 2 animal control officers, a shelter manager, and then a customer service representative, and they do an excellent job. They actually, you know, about the 2 contracts that we have, one with Pittsburgh, sorry, and one with Gilmer. Those contracts pay us close to $100,000 a year. That helps offset some of the costs for animal control services. Last year, so you know, just an idea, delivered to our shelter in the various ways we receive animals, we received 2,316 animals. And that's a big number for a city our size. We do serve the county and then those other cities as well. And our animal control officers responded to about 1,200 calls for service out in just within our city limits. Our adoptions were up about 15% because the staff over there at the shelter was great about doing free events in the community after hours and on site. They're always trying to get more animals adopted and trying to get more partners for rescues. So they do a really good job over there. The police department, the biggest line item you'll see there is contractual and fee services. That tends to go up 5 to 10% every year. That is our computer systems for dispatch, for our reporting mechanism for where officers write their reports. That pays for our body camera contract and tasers and in-car cameras. It pays for all those contracts that we have, which seem to get more and more expensive every year. It also pays for the contracts regarding our radios. So we pay Motorola and then our network, our radio network, each year out of that. And so anyways, if you have any questions about that, the only other one that kind of isn't self-explanatory, the business and travel, that is actually our training budget. Just because of where we are, officers are required to complete 40 hours of training every 2 years, but they just added another 16 last year that we actually had to hammer out in the last couple of years. And so a lot of those trainings are not offered locally, so we have to send people to those mandated trainings. And so we tend to exhaust that, and you can see we're about 31,000 out of 35 in the next 2 months. That will be close to exhausted before the end of budget. So yes, ma'am.
This, Abby, I'm looking at animal services and I'm looking at their payroll, which is about 267, and you're gonna probably meet that projection because we're at the end of July. But the increase is 329, nearly 330,000. Are you looking to add someone or?
So Jillian, was that position added?
I do not believe so.
Okay, so the state has told us we need a 5th person in there because of how many kennels we have. This last year we had a part-time, well, it was actually a temporary position. I wonder if I believe that's funded a part-time position to help over there because of how many kennels we have to try to help the staff out.
Okay, good luck, good luck. That's a good thing.
This is really back along the lines of animal services. So on page 29, so she's got up 41, but it has a line item on page 29 of animal services and how started out at 379, 440, but it's estimated for 2026 was 447. but it's not under police, so I don't know why I was thinking that the animal services would be under police and not its own.
So it's under the same overarching umbrella, but they're in two separate numerical departments in the books.
Why are we increasing it, from the 379 to the 447? Is it the?
So I think we did have an issue, correct me if I'm wrong, Jillian, but we did find in the prior budget, I think they didn't quite fund a couple positions completely, and we were actually close to going over budget on a couple salary positions. Was that in that budget, Jillian, or was that somewhere else?
I'm not sure. It looks like utility services did get an increase though.
Yeah, so like I said, well, and that just pays the bills, the utility services. To keep the lights on, I believe.
So Mark, on on the building and grounds, I was just curious why it doubled, went from 10 to 20.
So, yeah, so you'll see that on the police side too. And so this year, like I said, it's an 8-year-old building, and each of the last 2 years, we've had air conditioners and heating units. HVAC is what it's been.
Mm.
The HVAC has started needing repairs, and because of the type of building and the size of it, it's been very costly. The original installation apparently was actually a proprietary software. So we bring a company out of Longview that has the ability to repair it. And early this year, we spent $10,000 to do a heating issue and $10,000 to do an AC heating. And so I've asked for a little more funding so we don't have to do budget amendments mid-year to correct some of those issues that are just starting to come up now that those units are getting older.
Okay, excellent.
That was the same thing on the police. You'll see where we doubled it as well. We had, I think, 2 air conditioners earlier this spring. We had to do to the tune of 10,000, and something else that cost us 10. And I kept having to go to Greg and say, Greg, I need some money in my building repair budget.
No more questions, Chief?
Yeah, this may be just misunderstanding or clerical, but on the summary that Kelly had mentioned a minute ago, on page 29, I'm looking at the detailed summary, top line, totals.
The detailed summary, the top line is not the totals. The top line is the payroll only.
Sorry, it's dark.
You're good.
I can't really see. Okay, I see now. All right, that makes more sense. Never mind. All right.
Yeah, and so that payroll, right, it also includes healthcare, pension funds, workers' compensation, all those other things.
More questions? We're gonna keep moving. Chief, you did a good job on the 5-minute presentation, and thank you for that. And staff, by the way, I got my timer on. 5 minutes.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Enjoy the wedding.
Thank you, Chief. Take care, buddy.
Thank you. I'll be here for the duration, sir.
All right.
We're going
On.
on. This is our org chart, divided between the shifts, the stations. We have 32 people assigned to the station. Self-explanatory. We do still have a couple of volunteer firefighters, not necessarily do firefighting, but they provide support services, bringing air tracing, stuff like that. Then we have our ladies auxiliary, which is generally fireman's wives and stuff that come out and help if we need them. Do it, bring a sandwich and stuff like that. So go to the money slide. So our budget pretty much stayed the same as it was last year. Major projects that we have are actually in the bond issue. The ladder truck is supposed to be delivered September of 27. We have $100,000 in the bond issue to build a training structure. We hope to get that started this year. And there's $70,000 in the bond issue to do the roof. Y'all remember we pinged y'all. It went up to like what, $130,000. We've had it reevaluated. It looks like that may end up coming under like 50,000. We got 70. So John, our building official, was working can come and get us our third bid, but it looks like it's gonna come in a lot less than what it was. So, I guess, looking through that, y'all have any questions about any of those line items? I can answer those. Our budget stayed with, I think it went up like a couple of $100,000, maybe, so. On contractual fee service, I'll just tell you that it went 27,044. Part of that is, we're having to spend about $9,000 disposing of AFFF foam. They have determined it is a carcinogen, and we have, I forgot how many gallons of it, and knowing that we didn't know back then what we know now, when, the pipe rack guys were over refinery, they had to change out their foam, so they gave us that training, and we got disposed. So, also, House Bill 198, the Wake Cannon Act, is going to require us to provide a comprehensive cancer screening for all of our firefighters. That doesn't go into effect until June 1st. The Texas Fire Commission determines exactly what that means. So that's kind of the two items in that budget. We really don't know what that's going to be.
June 1st.
June 1st, 26.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions about any line up?
No, looks about the same, except for the two items you called out. So
Roughly, so a lot of items went down, fuel went up.
Chief, call volume?
Call volume last year, we did 888 calls last year, total city and county. You know, we covered the county. Of those 888, I believe there was, of the total, 33% of those were in the county. When you bring it down to just the significant calls, structure fire, crash fire, motor vehicle accidents, and the extra K, it went up to about 47. I think it was 47%. See, I think it's 55% county, 47%. Roughly those numbers, city versus county. So,
you said cap, is that for the highway or something, or is that, you know, city?
so again,
Is it depending on city limits, or is the highway included in the county?
yeah, I heard, yeah. Yeah. So we're basically, last time I kind of checked, we're on track for about the same number of incidents this year. We do the inspection of all the buildings. Not sure how many inspections we've done this year. There's like 1,200 probably. We go per year. Yeah. And our inspections are based on 1, 2, and 3 years, depending on the hazard. Place may only get inspected like every 3 years for like our schools, hospitals, nursing homes. They get it every year. So, you know, despite what you may hear on firefighters sitting around playing dominoes or drinking coffee, most of the time during the day, our guys are either out doing fire inspections. This time of year, we're out doing fire hydrants, making sure. Aaron is not liking us right now because we're finding a whole lot of them that are needing to be repaired or what have you. So.
Here we work.
Good thing.
I have a question.
Okay.
How does that have to do with this, but kind of does. Every time that y'all get called and go out, do you have a cost effective, a cost associated with that call? When you take the salaries of everybody, the trucks, what it costs you to run?
We could probably come up. Like on our rescue revenue, when we go out on wreck, which we're waiting to get that ordinance from Lee to bring y'all. But when we go out, if it's a wreck and they have insurance, we take that insurance information down and send it to this company. Tries to collect the insurance. They keep 20, we get 80%. And there's certain, like for the engine, we'll say it's like $500 an hour. I think so that schedule, that's what we use for collecting that. Wrecks, vehicle prices. We don't do, charge people for trucks and fires and stuff. Because one of the things with wreck, we've got a lot of people, we go to revenue on paying, right? Because the people drive to inside that record. They did pay in.
We used to charge pilgrims when they had the spills. I used to charge everything.
People had it in street. We had, well,
Yeah, to, couple of weeks
yeah,
ago.
just found out, we had, but luckily, you know, they're keeping them slow.
We used to charge them for it.
That's what I was.
They always,
Yeah,
that's.
that's something we may want to, like I said, luckily, not have to do it, that's something they don't do.
We would gather police, fire code, and everybody who was out there and charged them for everything.
Yeah,
That's bad.
we could. Like it over.
Yeah, that schedule would be real helpful though, once you get a chance to get your hands on it. Just that schedule of the piece that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, because we've been waiting. We really hadn't changed the price on the particular line item since we went into that like in 16 or so. And that's what this ordinance, they've asked us, said, hey, we got new prices, and they wanted ordinance to go along with it. They each got the ordinance, I'm waiting for her to give it her blessing, bring it up. But I can get you a copy of the ordinance.
Curious, you may not know this, it quickly comes, but on top of the fixed fee, right, per hour or whatever, is there, y'all include like mileage?
No, it's just our, it's
Y'all
just,
making the fee?
it's, yeah,
Okay.
they're the ones that calculate that.
That's
right here.
I just curious, right, because if you're driving
Yeah.
2 miles versus 30.
Yeah,
30 miles.
I don't remember if mileage comes into play or not, it's just, here's what it is to go at.
Well, quite a few of your reports that you get.
Mhm. Yep.
And you talk about calls. And then you have some, not that they're missed calls, there's nothing, I don't know if they're prank calls, I don't know what they were, but y'all didn't, there was nothing there. But do you ever have to go out and load everybody in to go and there's nobody there? I mean, it really is a prank call.
So, now we go on calls where they think they might have a house on fire and turn out to be a brush pile behind. But actually going out and a prank call, still, we may get there, you know, people just said there's smoke in the area. So we don't do a full response, not send a brush truck. Or they get there, we can't see anything. Fires are down.
Your
Just-
showed y'all call, and there's like, no action. So I think the country.
We make quite a few false alarms in the
Yeah.
city for alarms. In the county, we don't.
Okay.
We just don't have that many.
Maybe the false alarms cost the fire department money.
Well, yeah, we're on the truck.
Wasted by.
One for fire? All right, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Okay, Lynn.
5 minutes. So,
All right,
our work chart is a lot simpler. But probably one thing, just kind of an overview, we're a little different. We touch a lot of different things. So we provide can-do kind of development friendly services, putting mechanisms in place that kind of help for future and present sensible development. So that makes it possible to impact all of the citizens' quality of life. From another way to look at it is new business and development translates into additional property taxes, which is more money to spend on the citizens. It brings in higher revenues that can add to the benefit programs from the other departments. It also results in higher sales tax because a lot of development is not just residential, but it's commercial. And of course, the new apartments and new subdivisions that we bring in, we've got a number of apartments underway or about to be right now. That's new residents who will spend more money and create more vibrancy. So we're almost like a cyclical organization. Some new businesses, George's just opened, or Fordo's, okay, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they just opened Seven Brews Coffee for Mark, which is an Arkansas chain. They're about to start their permit. Ashley Furniture is coming to the strip center. Marshall's Of course, everybody's waiting for them to be open. There's a new hotel coming on, Jerry Bodner, that is, we're doing its review right now. They're about ready to get their permit. And we do a number of expansions of local businesses that a lot of people don't even hit the radar as they grow or they go into other buildings. So we're doing all those things plus health and safety for the build community to make sure that what's being built and renovated is safe, and also what is our code compliance and what level of kind of those health and safety issues. And additionally, we do provide health services. So just a few, this is our very short list, and just to highlight a few things that may make you wonder, where it says the big amount contractual and fee services in the planning part, that is what pays for the engineering review for all of the plans that I just mentioned. For all those, we don't have a city engineer. We have to contract it out. I try really hard to be mindful of not bringing that person in and being very careful about how we bring him in so that I can keep the money down to a dollar. So that's why we have cut it, is because we are hoping that we can keep, but like Greg said, we really don't know how many of those we're going to have. So it's kind of guessing it. Building and development has a contractual and fee services line item too, and that is the tear downs that John's been bringing to you for the demolitions. That money comes back to the city, hopefully some future time as liens. So we do lien, but it doesn't come back to my budget. It just comes back to the city. Code enforcement also has one of those funds, and that is for the mowing and the cleanups. Again, most of that is lienable, and it will eventually come back, or they immediately pay it. We send out bills, a lot of people pay it, but it doesn't come back to me. It goes back into the city, and I guess there's a revenue line item for where that money hits. So that's kind of a short.
I have a question on the, you mean they're hiring an engineer to review building plans?
Not the building plans for hotels. This would be the development. So anytime there's a flat, anytime there's construction where utilities are being put in, where the pavement and all the specs for the actual civil construction on the site, that requires engineering review. The building plans, when a building permit comes in, our building official does that as a plan review. So, but there's a lot of construction that isn't just a building permit that takes place first.
Civil underground costs. Civil and underground.
Streets, drainage, water,
Yes.
sewer.
Yes.
This isn't really much money under your office budget, have nothing.
Well, what we did was
She still
we
needs.
had an office supply fund. We combined them
Okay,
because it's basically the same office. That way we didn't have to worry about, well, use this for, because everybody uses it. So we did a little bit of that.
It's another one of those things where
okay.
things were all over the place. We're trying to keep it concise.
Yeah, I'm very critical. So
Okay,
More questions for planning? Lynn, beautiful job under 5 minutes.
yes.
Good job.
Way up.
period.
Eric, what? Eric gets 6 minutes and 12 seconds because you got first and street.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So just kind of a brief overview of what Public Works is. So we consist of the Parks Department, the Building Maintenance Department, Fleet Services, and Streets Department. So we have a total of 35 employees throughout, and includes forms and everything. Found line, you can kind of see our breakdown there. So we can go to the next slide. Lights are down. How do you turn lights on me? I knew that was gonna happen. I was thinking it the whole way. Okay, so you'll see as a general across all the public works, we did about 3 to 6% reduction in the operations budgets. So you'll see that in lines, you may say, why is this less than last year? We've made those reductions in preparation. If you have any questions, you'll see some more big ones like motor vehicles here. Motor vehicle supplies, we cut that by 20,000. We're trying to just gauge what's going to cost, and if we can make any cuts, we're on our second year of major cuts, so we're trying to get back to some old numbers on what we were able to make work past. You can go to the next slide, please. That covers, this will be building maintenance and parks. Same situation. So our building maintenance department, you can see it's a small department. It's just 5 employees. They maintain all the facilities. They don't require a lot because of a lot of the departments supply their own money for these kind of services. So we'll do the service and bill back departments. So they don't have a lot of operating costs up front.
But this is one I think I was looking at where I was curious about all the janitorial supplies is in each, like this one in the previous slide.
Mm-hmm.
That was like only there.
No, so the only ones that will have janitorial is going to be parks and building. So it's the next, so these two have it. So that pays for all the janitorial at all the city buildings, like so here and city hall. In parks, obviously we have a lot of public restrooms. We supply for all this.
Lots of problems.
Yes, we spend a lot of money on toilet paper.
So just curious, communication, you're budgeting $2,000, are you replacing some communication equipment or doing more out or?
So communication, that was that was the on call. I think what was that? The Verizon.
Yes.
It's something that it wasn't budgeted last year.
All right.
So that was raised. That got raised.
I got it. So some of this is true.
AT&T and Verizon.
And I guess health business travel is also the training.
Yes, training. We hold multiple different licenses between the RPA, Texas Department of Agriculture. We also maintain all the mosquito program. We hold licenses for the city for that. Any herbicides there, please. That training is on that. Next slide, please. Street department. So this is the one that we've really been working on bringing back our fund balance in over the last couple of years. So the bond money we've been using for street infrastructure, that's helped us fall out of the hole. So you can see we've made some adjustments on what we require. We can spend a lot of that. We don't have as much upfront cost because we're doing so much to it. This also helps repay that fund.
Who's doing the inspections on the overlay program?
So Patrick Jones was our
If
city inspector, or the street foreman.
Patrick is the street one?
No, Patrick is the construction.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So he's doing the inspections. Okay.
Yes. Have any questions?
Well, good job. I didn't even turn the timer on. I knew you could do it.
Good evening, welcome to the library. My department is pretty straightforward. So there's one library director and there's 5 library assistants. And then here is our item. And I just wanted to go over how our summer numbers went. We've had an incredibly successful summer this year. We had 98 programs. We had 564 children registered for our summer reading programs. We had 15 sponsors that helped us with our summer programs. We gave out 700 coupons to kids that reached reading goals throughout this, and they went fast. They lasted a month. Usually last 2 months. We had such an incredible turnout. So with those reading logs, that means we had at minimum of 2,100 hours read by children. Some of them read 7 hours instead of the minimum 3 hours, so we were conservative with 3 hours. And then, also, not only did we help children read here in the library, we also went to different outreach programs. And we went to different childcare facilities, and there we gave books to 225 kids also throughout the summer. And so we had an attendance of total of 3,352 people that participated in our school. So that is just, I think, a testament of what we do here at the library, especially during the summer. And just an idea of what we have planned is we're going to be doing Dino November this year, and then we're going to be doing our first 3 years, which is a program where we connect parents and children that are 3 years old or younger to resources that we have here in the community. So this will be our first year doing it. We'll do that in the springtime. And besides that, we're going to be doing any classes, starting seed libraries, and just connecting our community with resources and also connecting them with each other. So we really want to foster that sense of community. So some of our bigger line items are other supplies. So other supplies helps pay for a lot of those programs, a lot of the supplies that we require for that. So when we do adult crafts, that's where that comes from. Whenever we go to outreach programs, if we need to take certain supplies to that, pens, cups, or any sort of materials that we give away, that's where that comes from. And we did go up on that because the cost of everything is going up. So that is why we increased that. We did go down in our building and grounds. One thing that we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be adding more cameras and updating our camera system. It is outdated, and so that's something that we're really wanting to focus on this fiscal year. And then the cost of books, we are going down with that. We've actually switched to a different vendor. And so has been saving us costs. So we've been looking to see whenever we order certain books, we check to see where we can get it at a better rate and go with that.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So revenue.
Yes, ma'am.
What, do you rent this for them?
We do not.
Because I've been at a club meeting in May. So
We do
I'm
not.
not sure.
We do not rent this for mount. It is available for the community for nonprofits specifically. But the thing is, they do, whenever we have programs, certain things, our programs take priority over anything else. So that's why we do have a few people that provide resources to communities that come here, like Area Engaging. They'll be here in a couple months providing resources to people, and that's a free resource. And we do book signings in here as well, but we do not rent if the resources available.
They're gonna have another one, says man.
Good to go? Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Don't you just love that when I just appreciate when she's like, we had a great year. And like, thank you, ma'am. Oh, all right. So I just a couple rounds. So I think that's it for the general fund. Going through it, just want to have kind of the final. So obviously we have talked endlessly about this. See where we were, see where we are. And so I would say to you that you are in a stable place. Comes to going forward. It's not a great place, that's for sure. But I would say you are in a stable place and your reserves are up above what your policies have educated. Next slide. Just wanted to hit on, so remember talking about, people talked about what types of things, these are the things that were bonded for back in, not all of them.
Yes.
But these first few are, this was.
Yes. It's bond.
Are the bond too? Oh,
Yes.
oh yeah, we have.
It's bond and grant.
So these are all the bond funds. See, we track them, so for new council members, bond issue paid for a ladder truck, which you heard was ordered, fire station roof, you heard about that. Training facility, heard about that with fire. So annual street rehab, 2.2 million. So that's something that I think Derek talked a little bit about how we're doing some this year. We're gonna do some more. We did kind of run into, we had some conversations that we were looking at First Street and we realized that's one of those streets where the curb is higher than the road. I mean, the curb is lower than the road. That is a major project. And once you start digging, you have to tear that out. You're gonna start talking utilities. And so I think what was that, $1 million itself or
At least.
yeah. And so we pulled back on that And so we're gonna do more engineering, looking at how do we make that, how do we get that project done? But, yeah, I got to look firsthand on the fact that, sorry, but who would ever pave up to your curb line? That makes zero sense. Who would ever do that? But it's in town.
Yeah.
It's in town.
I don't know if this would be
Yeah.
off topic or not, but the way that the potholes are getting filled in on that street, for some reason, the material is just coming right out.
The most recent low balls, okay.
Yeah, there, and then you turn on Florida. It's like the stuff that's going in there.
Yeah, okay, so that's actually not, that's we'll check it on it, but that's, the gas company's been going around making. Yeah, they're redoing all the valves and everything,
Okay.
so when they patch, they're not patching as well.
Yeah.
Just plugging.
They're covered.
All right. Good catch. We got those.
And the ladder, how old is our ladder truck that we have right now?
96.
96. Are we gonna be able to do anything with that?
We'll probably try to keep it as a reserve, just put it on our eyes. So
Keep going real quick. One of the things we had Civic Center, was, 700 some thousand. It was because at that time, they believed they would have to basically gut the bathrooms in there. And, staff, congratulations, went in there and said, we don't have to gut the bathroom. We can work them again and do it again. So we only had to spend $99,000 on that. So these are monies that are still, that money's not earmarked for anything, even though I think we're taking a look and see if there's air conditioning units and other things so we can get ahead of the game a little bit instead of always be behind the game. At the Civic Center, park improvements is Delwood. It's very quite specific towards Delwood. And so that money is gonna be spent as soon as we get the bids out there and put that all together. And in the airport, we already used that money. You got a grant to leverage that, so that worked real well. Next slide. Utility.
Before he comes, I would just like to say,
Oh,
Greg gave all the credit on those fees to Lynn. My alcohol fees were in there, just so you know.
No, perfect.
The first.
Oh,
Not the first.
I was gonna say, I was in there too.
Oh, no. Not.
Our city was telling me how much revenue we were gonna get. They were gonna get $1 million a year, hundreds of thousands a month, 30,000.
Well, the state regulates how much we can charge.
And what?
The state regulates how much we
Yeah,
can
but
charge.
I mean, when they were voting for that, all the guys just, oh, you're gonna get rich, you're gonna have so much. Yeah.
Well, Greg, how responded to this?
thank you. Are you not there? I guess I'm gonna let you take it.
It's just one slide.
It's just
right
that
now,
one slide.
Big one.
and then it's revenues.
I have to do that. Put it on my stuff.
You want me to go?
Oh, this one.
Yeah. Go.
So,
Count 5 minutes, I think.
Our breakdown is, we have administrative assistant that in Peter shares, and she pretty much holds her hand on all that. 2 water plants, 2 foremen, so they have all the extra operators, they help maintain what is it, the 2.
two water plants and one's at 12 million gallons, the other 5 million gallons, the 4 storage tanks and the 3 water towers. The sewer plant, you don't know anything about sewer plant by now with all the 18 or 27, 26 pay requests I've done so far. Or actually most of them, I only have the last 4. Technically, well, we will have 2 sewer plants when it's all said and done with it, just for outside. We have half a pre-treatment person, the other half we actually share with code enforcement that are checking everything already, so might as well let it take a few more. And then, of course, you have the utility department that handles all the, I think it's 195 miles of sewer mains and 205 miles of water mains. And then you have Junior that reads all the
You have one meter reader?
Yes, with the new system that we switched over, that helped us. We used to have Gale. So we kind of scaled back on that. The system would put him even with three, so he only has technically three, so he is about 250 meters a month. Like the more complex ones, the ones that have a lot of water and it's like behind Walmart where it's more of a wet area. The meters don't read as well. They do sometimes, but they're not as accurate. So instead of just way too long on to putting in on meters, so he reads so effective. But it eliminates. It is true miles. Most of the meters are feeding data back to the database. They feed once an hour, yeah, and it saves 12 hours of downloads. So we get 2 downloads a day, but it reads every single. Oh, I don't know, but that one. That's the breakdown of all the. That's the next one. That's.
Revenue, overall revenue. No, it's coming.
I can talk about that, without even getting up. So I mean, it's just, here's your recap of the overall budget. And remember I talked earlier about the surplus at the end of next year's budget that we're gonna be into, basically it's gonna drop into the reserve fund. That will get you up to 22% this year. And so as we talk more about capital replacement, this is where you won't need to be putting this money in the reserve fund next year. So this amount of money and whatever increases in revenue you might have the following year will be available for capital improvements or capital replacements. Yeah. So basically, in case of another group, we have money for this. And we're behind on a lot of stuff. That's not fun at all. I'm just an example. Exactly. Mine, the next slide too? Yep. Oh my goodness. I think that I covered this out. I could cover all this, so I'll just be, I don't have to say much. We talked about this in the very beginning. That's some of the highlights. That's we budgeted for planning. We budgeted for vehicle replacement and then started the capital improvement plan. Here's your 1.28 going into reserves, gets you up to 22.7. 4.3 million in reserves. And I have to say to you, that's a healthy amount to have available for repairs, replacements, any emergencies that happen. Standards 20 to 25. And I just put this on here because your utility fund was in very, very, very difficult straits. And again, it's a very good place to be here, but now city needs to start really working on, like when you have a 60-year-old raw water line that is very that goes down. And I talked to Aaron and he said, so several times we're within half a day from shutting the city down. Basically, so you put it and you treat it, puts in the towers, it's saved. Once that raw water line, there's no feed, no water's coming in, so you drain out the towers, and you don't want to have that level of that lack of reliability in your water system. It is 60 years old. So you'll see some slides we're going to show here in a minute on what we're going to do there. So is it next slide? Are we going to do this together or you want to do it? Fire away, buddy.
So as for the raw water line, so we on hand can hold 1 solid day worth of water on storage. So once that breaks, we have 24 hours. They either shut it down or plug it. And on average, it breaks once a year. Costs about $35,000 every time. Not very big, but we're used to it. I think last year it broke 3 different times. That was $100,000. But sooner or later, it will need to be replaced. On the Tankersley Dam, I can't even tell you when we were flying class. It's just been pushed back for years. Sooner or later, it will need to be done. What is that for us? Tankersley.
That is our original water source. Okay. That is our backup now, but it is our original water. We still have a plant, pump system out there.
Well, county house.
It's right beside the Anderson project.
Oh, yeah.
Program, it's right there. Edward Lift Station, this is his future. If Anderson ever decided he wanted to do it again, lift station that's close by, so we need to upgrade sooner or later. Nibbles Road, water line replacements. This just improves fire protection. I think anyone on Nibbles in that area, if they've ever talked to you, have always asked where their fire hydrant.
If we just not put in a big enough line of stuff.
We inherited that from county.
Oh.
The county had a 4-inch water line. We put our attention more towards the sewers.
Oh, okay, I know, okay.
So they didn't have any sewer, we
Yeah.
put sewer in, and we found out they were picking up when we do. And the rest of them are just maintenance that are just, sure, I didn't even look at, sewer line on the Tyson. It's a very traffic one, you can't really do anything with all the trucks going on it. I-30 development, Big Tex area. Pretty much just putting a water line out there to match sewer line guard. And just laying this fire protection across town, that he was small and on thing. And this is paid for by the.
So, great question. Thank you. So I talked to Aaron about this and why is a capital improvement plan important? Why do you have capital improvement and replacements? Here's a list. In Tankersley, I got here and consulting came in and told me it's $1.5 million. And you know what the budget was like last year. So there's no way to go there, but I think it's been in there for 15 years. So I guess what I'm kind of excited about is that I think that you will be able to, based on the fact that you had to raise the rate significantly, you can now start looking at doing what utilities should do, which is fix these problems, upgrade these lines. You do not have the money to do that. And I can tell you, I won't be here, but Aaron and I talked about it. One of the projects is the LBS water treatment plant that's part of the bond issue. It was $6 million to do it. Remember the issue, right? It was a capacity issue that was built X and it never reached that capacity. Well, congratulations, council, working with KSA, who's paying for those pumps, is going in very soon. That $6 million is never spent. So as you look at a master plan, as you look at the next probably several months, this is something that you could take that $6 million and apply it to some of these improvements, because your ballot or bond issuance said basically transmission lines, including things like Tankersley. But the great thing is I would talk about seeing if we could pick some of these off. If I was that raw water line concerns me. And so I would say, as I would look at it, that's a pretty high priority. That might be a great shift from the LBS, the water treatment plant, like Bob Salmon, over to that raw water line and see if we can't get that replaced and it can last you for another 15 years. Here's a list. This is going to keep progressing. Aaron will keep progressing with this as far as, all right, what are we actually going to work on here? And looking at some of the other things that were on bond issues, some things have come in significantly less than what they were. And so grabbing this kind of priority list for you from utilities and then looking at those bond proceeds, we're going to go back through those and try to compile those to see how much money you actually still have in the bond proceeds that you could do some of that. Right here.
So the Tankersley Dam repair is TCEQ compliant, are we getting fined on that or
No.
anything like that, Brad?
No.
They give us a date, we're supposed to have it done. Okay.
15 years they have.
So, okay.
Then it's not a red flag, it's on.
Okay.
200,000 for the water master planning for Tyson.
That is, it's study, this pretty much the same, what the future's gonna hold for the current contract we have. So that's a contract we have to pay, that we have to spend time.
Are you good friends with anybody at Tyson?
I talk to Tommy and Aaron all the time.
I think I wish I could. So I think always says that it's like. I'm the one that typed this up, so I put TriSot on there because it's part of, the master plan's good for us inside the city, but it will have to relate to the TriSot stuff too, it molds really well, so I just highlight it because it's very important for where the whole relationship's going, what they're planning on doing, what we're planning on doing. It's key to do TriSet, not just for the operating side, but with what end up doing with TriSet and how that works out. This is good too. I would hope that they could jointly do it and they would look at paying for doing their own and we can put them all together. That would be ideal.
What are we getting in revenue from TriSet right now?
Should be, yes, should be around, say, 1.6. 1 year.
After 1.3 to 2, so I just wondered.
It just depends.
Yeah, okay.
1 year like this, sometime. Drought, be high.
Where do we get cookies?
Pilgrims.
Like you buy here, they buy half of our orders.
We get, I believe, I don't understand how the taxation early this week. I think it was, what we get.
It is good answer. It
was. It's one like.
It's all right. Y'all can get that back. I was just curious.
I don't know Pilgrims. I do have the number for TriSut for fiscal 24. It was 1.1. TriSut for fiscal 24 was 1.1 million.
We also, on that road water line, we've been in the city still without water twice last year for days.
That's no concrete for the.
Yeah.
Still under concrete line.
Wow.
It's still there.
Yeah.
That's.
Sorry, guys.
Your tax. Just worry about it. If you're not going to get it.
So that's
But they're gonna real quick.
where's it out?
Well, yes, it's water
So. That's a. Right. So I think that's very worthy of repeating. So everybody heard that. So here's your pie chart on revenues on the utility side. 5.4 million. You see the total 12 Pilgrims. So that's something that you just have to really keep in mind when it comes to diversifying. And I will say this, I'll get my 2 cents in. The city has built 2 water treatment plants, another wastewater treatment plant, loops and lines around within its city limits. Economic development, needs to be focused on the city, the connecting to the indebtedness we have to pay those bills back and have economic development happen within the city limits that can support this stuff. We should not be paying TriSut to help out businesses. That's next. Expenses again, you go. So this is here's where we look on debt service. It's a pretty significant, but you can see around the box.
Debt service, part of that business, of SB earlier, the fees associated with paying for those lines in that debt service.
There was. At the time you issued the bonds, there was.
Okay.
Now you're just paying back.
The bonds.
Okay. Next one. Getting close to 9 o'clock. Oh, Mike, how can we not forget water rates, sewer rates? So, I didn't put back the facts out there, 2023 ordinance.
On the bottom of the screen.
Oh, See how good these people are? Did you stop that? Back in 23, council adopted 5 years of rate increases. 17.23% was year one. You saw the results, and you're seeing the results of the second one at 17.23. That's not even a full year, so you should hopefully see even better revenues coming in next year. Year three, this was it's projected. It's saying it should be 4.93. Year four is supposed to be 4.93%. Year five says 0. I recommend at this time that you do not do that. Do not do that rate increase this year, because you've definitely seen significant revenue coming in off of those 217s. And you just, I would look at it in 6 months again and see if you need to do it. So I think you need a better handle on what the overall impact of was those 217s at 35%. So my recommendation is suspend that one. I mean, you don't, just because it's adopted by the prior councils, you don't have to implement that. And so typically what happens, you would approve it as part of the budget, it would go in effect in January. I would suggest you look at it in 6 months to see if that's even necessary. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it could be. It's good to know that you're thoughtful in the fact that you don't, we don't want to raise it if we don't have to.
No.
Well, I'd be curious to what you remember last time we were so far under where everybody else around us was. Well, I would be curious those numbers again.
Just to see where we are on our rates.
Yeah, and I know those new meters would definitely be more revenue off because they're being more accurate, so I'm sure new meters and rates quite a bit more.
I don't like to raise taxes. I don't like to raise unless I can show the justification for it. And just because the impacts of these are hard to see what that actually is going to look like over a year's time, I would wrap it into my master plan before I actually go to do that. Year 5 shows a 0. So worst case scenario is you look, and you're going to look every year, you're just going to push that off. You're basically pushing, you're taking the 0, replacing it here, and push it onto year 4 and 5 would be the 5 year or the 5%. I do believe, as a city managing utilities for a long time, you should always try to keep up with the cost of expenses going up. It's a lot better to do 3% or 4% than 217s at 35. That's
kind of where I was going with what they're charging around us, because it would be nice if we could actually just start incrementing it up with everybody else, some small percentages each year instead of the play catch up like we do.
It happens a lot because no one wants to raise raises, no one wants to raise taxes. No one wants to have their rates or their taxes raised. And so, elected officials, you have to answer to those people every day in restaurants and everywhere. So, I just think you should suspend this for at least 6 months and at least look at it again to see if there's anything there. Hopefully, you'll have some master plan work getting done as well. Then I don't recommend it. You're welcome, Betsy. You're welcome to push for a rating.
Hey, anything that saves the public, or that's good.
I feel confident. I wouldn't do it if I didn't feel like your revenues are looking very good. You're starting to collect money to replace stuff. So just take a breath is what I would say, and reevaluate that for your. Next slide. Same recommendation on sewer, water, and sewer, both federal rate increases. We had this last year, but it just gives you a sample of what the water bill looks like if someone using 5,081 gallons.
So Ray wanted me to ask if they're charging, I don't know the exact number, but if they're charging $14 to the trash people, why are we charging $18.97? I was like, well, 50 city revenue. I don't know. I was going to ask, but
I have not had a chance to look into that.
okay. I mean, I figured it'd be something worth listening for
I believe it is.
managing the contract.
I believe it is.
That makes sense to me. Okay.
Because any changes to someone's trash service, or say someone wants to get a roll-off dumpster, they come to our water office and talk to our staff over the utility billing, and they're the ones that contact Republic to get those changes made. And then, so we are managing it. Yes.
It's also a part of the ordinance that they have with the city. So like, they have a proprietary ordinance to do business only.
Oh,
They're
okay.
the only trash service in the city.
Okay, so that's part of it. I mean, I figured.
It's the administrative part.
Okay. Sorry, I was asked that today.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
You were mentioning, earlier. So, 4 things at the beginning.
Do you want to go back to the beginning or
Yeah.
do you want to go to the end?
No, I want to go to the beginning. I'm trying to do that. So, we were talking about the budget overview, and you were saying that, revenues from water and sewer, they have to stay in water, so they can't go to another part.
Correct. It's illegal for you to use water and sewer funds to pay for police, fire, parks. Next slide. Oh. Oh yeah, that just kind of gives you a historical, you can see what happened with water sales, which is very good with the, see what the rate increases did. Next slide. Water or sewer, I mean, see the same things. Honestly, I'm starting to get tired too. Agree. Next. Solid waste, and that's a fixed contract.
And you can see it kind of just moves along with CPI each year, which is what y'all voted on Tuesday.
Hey buddy, get back up here. Now I'm gonna start for 5 minutes on.
You might want to give him the 612.
What's that?
You might want to give him the 612.
So for the water plant, sewer plant, its, budgets are almost identical when it comes to what's in it. It's a bunch of, office supplies or little small things, but most of it's gonna be made up of your utility services, which is the electric and the chemical. More water you use, more electricity you use, power goes up, same goes with your chemicals, the more you make, the chemicals you get. The other big ticket one is your contract for fees and services. That is all our contracts for, we have to, depends on the equipment. Most of them either have to be 6 months, get that inspected and, signed off, it's still accurate and good to go. Other ones are a year, so we have to do that every single year, nonstop. So that covers most of those contractual fees. Water towers, same way, we have to have a inspection on our water towers. And water plants, exact same way. Utility service is gonna be your highest big number. The reason why there's a jump from this budget to next budget, we technically are going to gain a whole run of sewer. You have one drop something up. So electric will go up with, the chemicals will not. You're still gonna be treating the same amount of sewer. So you don't have to have twice as much sewer, but you are going to use twice as much electricity, because the local plants will have to. Contract the exact same thing. We have to check and make sure all equipment we use certified and paid.
Why is your payroll going up?
What's that?
Why is your payroll going up so much?
We gained, so since we have the bigger sewer plant, we have to have licensing for Q rules, another employee. Was that?
You added them.
We added an employee, so when we were at, we're at 2.9 permit lots, you're allowed to have 3 employees. When you go up to 5, you actually have to have 5. Our pre-treatment person counts as our fifth, but the 4th one has to go to the wastewater plant for maintenance and that. So we did gain a person.
And in actuality, they didn't gain an employee, he moved it.
Yes. So that person actually came out of the utility department. To go.
So as a whole, the utility fund didn't gain anyone, he just moved it
Yes.
around to state.
Yes, I think.
Yes.
It just,
So this one goes up, another one goes down. There's freshwater utilities and creature.
Oh, the freshwater, that's the contract with our water. We buy 30,000 acre feet of water from freshwater district and an operating fee from Franklin County. Utility department. It doesn't usually go up. The only time it really starts moving up is if the cost of doing environment maintenance, the cost of equipment and things like that start slowly going up. They, ever since COVID, they slowly increase it now. This year on our budget, there's a jump on our contract with fee. You'll see that 200,000, that actually is the water, the master plan for the water. And the other jump was the capital motor vehicle for the lease vehicles that come about. Other than that, the utility department says about the same every year. And our pre-treatment department, we're actually swallowing up his cost into the utility department. Since we share them with the police department at this whole department. Okay, any questions?
So I think I just may say, so we talked about getting rid of lease vehicles. So we pay $200,000 a year for lease vehicles. So I'll buy his fleet of 5. And that will be up.
Is it acre or basic? We have that in the first.
Well, that
30,000.
30,000 from like Bob said.
you also got water tax too.
Yes, it's in the budget book. I don't remember this. It's 2,300 something like that, and that's our original tax.
Yeah.
And then we do an operating maintenance fee for Franklin County. We own 3,500 acre feet.
3590.
3,590 acre feet. And
Lake Cypress Springs.
Cypress Springs.
So I didn't know.
We own the water rights.
And all of this is on page 82 of the budget book
Okay.
within the mission statement.
Kind of like quick, Aaron, because I think it's, so on the water rights issue. I try to get my recollection. We pay annually for the 1.8 million, is that right? For the water rights to Bob Salmon?
We pay, well, that's split up. I think it's 200,000 going to Franklin, but I think it's like 1.6 goes to freshwater district.
Do we use that water or are we just holding on to it?
We do not typically have the ability to use all the water we have. So it's a buy or buy. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're buying that no matter if we use it or not. So pretty much it's holding, but yes.
So we're holding the rights to water to, again, when you talk about economic development, the city's in really good shape. We've got water.
Yes.
We've got the rights to water. So everything's in place for you to grow. And, so we certainly want to encourage that.
We have people.
Hard.
So water.
It's got to fertilize it too. Any more? Hold on. Oh. Down my side. All right, next slide. So again, here's what I was talking about. When you put the 1.2 million in there, you can see where the 20% is, how we've been in the past. Boom, you got back there. Congratulations, not pleasant. You just need to be staying there. And you'll also start adding some money now to actually do some replacement of some of the infrastructure. Next slide. Where's it going? Oh. Aaron and I will quickly take this. So here's where, Mary asked the question is those, what's bond funded, what's not. So here are the bond funds, projects that were approved. And again, we budget that those are expended. So when Aaron and I talked a little bit about here's 6 million right here, that's not going to happen. These, with the help of the chief and prior staff, we got grants for that. So that bond money is there. And so there's gonna be some more projects that you can do, just have to prioritize those. And, I would suggest, taking some time to really understand. I don't want to overspend this, obviously, but certainly, there's some more things you can do that have been not tended to. Again, that's why that priority list is there. And, I would love to suggest that you get off the TCEQ's nasty list on tanker sleep. I think, and you know, I hate to say you watch things like, Kerrville, you never know when something like that happens and you've got a dam that's not meeting its standards and requirements. You don't want that dam to break, and because the liabilities will be unbelievable. So that's something Aaron and I talked about that I think down the road here, and maybe even at the first public hearing, we can start talking about what we actually, let's proceed with this, because those are pretty important to do. Next slide. Candace? Paul's on vacation. We were not about to tell him no. He never.
I'm just a stand-in. So this is for Paul and his 2 workers. I will not need a timer. Just stand right here. So this pretty self-explanatory. His payroll. Here we go. His operations. I think the only thing, his utility services stayed the same. Paul did do a good job in cutting his budget, and he's just a great employee. So he did lower his fuel sales, he told me, but I'm going to read what he wrote for us. On August the 31st, they will complete the Southwest Site Drainage and Development Phase 1 at the airport by August the 31st, and this will include approximately 800 feet of new taxi runway for vehicle access, and that part will pretty much be done. In spring of 26, using the balance of their infrastructure grant money, they will go out for bids for phase 2 of the drainage development grant funding, approximately $850,000. And upon completion of phase 2, the airport will have 15 additional corporate hangar lots. And a lot of those are, some of them have already been leased, he said. Spring of 27, their goal is to replace all airport airside lighting, runway lights, taxi lights, etc. with LED fixtures. This will immensely improve their nighttime runway operations and lower electrical maintenance costs. And that's the airport. If you have questions, I can jot them down and email them to you when Paul comes back on Monday.
How many planes coming?
Huh?
How many planes flying?
I hear them quite often, so I would say somewhere between, I don't know. A lot.
What happened this one? Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, so these are our remaining principal for the utility supported debt and our property tax supported debt with the total, and these says as of October 1st, but it's actually as of now as well. We only have 1 more debt payment this fiscal year, but it's not going towards principal. So those are the outstanding principals. And then here's the overarching debt service fund. It shows a deficit, but that's because current cash balance is accounted for in that. So we will have extra money at the end, but in the calculation for the debt service portion of property tax, it takes into account how much cash you have in the bank now. There's that. And then we already went through this one earlier.
Next slide. Reminder of here's the schedule, but you don't need to do it. You already heard it. You know it. You see it. Next slide. There. I always like to just put, here's your vision statement, but you know what? It's late. So council, a couple quick things again is. What's that?
Yeah, did the dog say? Isn't this what happened?
From the goal setting? Well, certainly as we certainly taking into the input we heard, you know, let's be public safety is important, right? And by the way, we're still taking that, putting that together. I told you by September. Very good. Back in. Council, encourage you, if you have lots of questions about this, line items or whatever, please come and see us. I think that you have a choice. If you want to try to do this again, feel comfortable with it. When I say, the important thing for me is, if you have significant concerns on the revenue stream side. Expenses, if you want to cut them, I don't need to do anything. Like last year, we kind of got close to, I think, the first hearing, and we went with no new revenue, so we had to run back and change it at that point in time. Obviously, you're gonna vote however you want, but that property tax increase is a pretty big one, when it comes to your decision. If you're not gonna go with that one, then it's $1.3 million that have to be cut. So I think if that's something you want to have more conversation of, you want to set another meeting up to take up raises or any part of it. So I guess I'm just saying, do you want to meet again? Are you comfortable enough where things are?
I think we were talking about another meeting, so we would have our quorum and we would discuss with everybody. You know what I'm saying? With all of us in the room with our questions.
I would rather have a meeting like this because anything I've got to say, I'd like it to be out there for everybody to hear. Like the private part, because I'll say anything I think I need to say, but it also helps each of us build off of what the other one thinks and all, and kind of gives us an idea of how we feel. And, you know, I don't know anything. So I said, I'd like to see us meet again like this. I feel more comfortable.
And I think for them, since they're gonna have to answer it to the taxpayers and some stuff, that's why we're feeling more comfortable and actually had it before. I think this is.
Josh.
I'm okay if y'all move forward without me. And I feel like I got, now I'll follow up with questions to Candace or something.
Well, that's what we also say, that gave you this 2 days ago. You didn't have much time to look at it. You gave overview stuff. So expect, if you have questions, let's get them to Candace. And what we're gonna do is that as you have questions, I like to say you're all gonna hear back. But maybe there'll be, we might have another issue that we wanna have a council meeting about next week. If we do that, then we could put this on top of it, shall we say, and add some work session time to it if you have a special meeting, something like that.
Yeah, I'm really good with what it is. I just like the idea of everybody being together because I just think it's.
Is there any more information that you would like, or just text us? It's getting late, but you know, what we wanted to provide for you is if you have questions, they can give us more information about this or that. Send us messages, whatever you need to
Get clarity on step, which I've already got booking this. She said she's want to pick some stuff out. I want to really understand
Which part?
the whole, I mean, you know, because I am private sector, and it's just a different world. You know, if you work city, you have.
I'm still figuring it out.
Oh, but anyway, but I just kind of really want to find know.
You're all welcome. We'll take whatever time.
Yeah.
I look at next week, so we have to publish this budget on 16th. I'm gonna publish whatever's there. And typically, there's real issues we don't.
So she can take time to help me fight it, that's fine, but I just want to feel, that's just.
Well, I encourage it. I would encourage it. I mean, it's like, that's what we're here for. Is this kind of, you need to understand it so you're comfortable. I mean, you have to answer the phone. You're the one that have to say what you would offer this. Well, then we're gonna leave it with, we'll do something next week probably. And we'll get that. If you have questions, send them to her. We'll send answers back. I think there was some real good conversation about the pay plan and how that works, and $1,000 for the work out some stuff there, whether it's flat or percentages. So get some information back on that. But other than that, whether people agree or not, I look at where you were, not President, and where you are right now. It's not great, but it's much better than what it was. And I will say, I think you're stable. General comes tight, without a doubt. Utilities very good.
I would like some. You did.
Ah,
you-
Too late.
Yeah. On one of the last screens, we were showing in comparison where they're standing now. It's good. But you did the grid probably to about 22. About the year 22, we were at a certain amount, it was circling down.
And the bar chart on it, now.
Yeah, so see right there, now 32. I'd like to see immediately, like the budget from 22, so see the difference. You know, just don't need whole budget, just budget what they.
For the
Yeah.
utility fund.
I'm just curious to see why we had such a. 22.
And just, that's a great question, and just so you say, you might see that we have to put aside money, so you may be growing this until you do a project like that. That raw water main project,
Yeah,
you may have to put another 2 or 3 over there just to put it up here.
Yeah.
And then do that project.
because if we're gonna
So-
set goals, we're doing, so the goal, I think that we want to kind of name.
Right. A plan.
A plan.
A plan.
And Greg, you made a comment, and I'm not sure how this works, but on the voter approval thing about the tax rate, it said it was approved. When was this, and how, was this a public vote? I mean, I'm not really sure about how that.
So the voter approval rate,
So that, what did that slide?
working on it.
Page 9. But I just wanted to, you know, if I have to answer a question, I'm.
Great. I didn't get it at all last year, so that's, sometimes I asked them to figure this out, so I get it a little better. Either question?
Yes, so the voter approval rate is the maximum rate that we can set without going to the voters. So if we go and change it to 0.41593, it would have to go for an election. And if the election fails, it defaults back to the voter approval rate, which voter approval rate takes the cemetery and the debt. Those are separate calculations. And then it adds 3.5% to the prior year. That's how that is calculated.
Because the way it's stated, it's like this was voter approved, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't remember that, and I'm like, I couldn't just
It's
miss
the maximum you can do without the voter approval,
it.
which is based on a 3.5% increase to the M&O.
And who establishes that? Who
That is state law, yes.
State. So that's state established. Oh, how
So when we
Yes.
I would have. Never mind.
that would be much better to word it as without.
Yeah,
voter approval.
because it said by the voters, because I was gonna ask, wait, it's approved,
So, you know, when you've got Commerce, I'm showing 7, saying that's a line to election. I'm assuming. You know, we were looking at the comparisons
Yeah.
of cities, and I was looking at
Oh,
Commerce.
okay.
See where it says total tax rate. I was just curious if they had it to election.
They would probably have to.
Yeah. So anybody over 4.9, is your, or is that what you're saying?
But it's year over year, if it's growing more than 3.5% on the M&O, then they would have to go for an election.
Well,
Glad you're not in commerce.
Glad you're not in Commerce, right?
Almost 80 cents on the dollar.
That's right.
yeah.
It's up to you. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Okay.
Working out.